Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. You have just entered the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference 2023 from November. We have a plethora of speakers that's coming forth today. As you can see, we have some of our speakers here right now. Wave at the audience. Wave at the audience. So we are
Morning.
here and we're going to have a wonderful time today just sharing our stories, products, and services. So on the platform, we have Mavis Skeet, Laura Herman, Monica Stewart, Dave Nazanin, Tony Giddos, and we have a plethora of other speakers that's coming forth later on today. So thank you so much for joining us. But first, we have coming to the stage. Let me just share a little something before we even get started here. So the National Family Caregivers Conference 2023 is here for you. Why? This is National Caregivers Month. The whole month of November is dedicated to caregivers. We love what we do. We are caregivers. We've been caregivers. We have some that have taken care of their parents, some that take care of their spouses, some that take care of family members near and far. So listen, stick and stay and know that this is going to be a wonderful day. We're going to be here for a couple of hours. So we want you to have your pen and paper and definitely listen, write down some information. And we want you to engage with the speakers. So it is exactly about 9:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right now. So we're going to bring to the stage first, we're going to have Monica Stewart. So as I that the other speaker off the stage, we want to introduce the first speaker, Monica Stewart. Let me just do this because all this technology, right? We're going to keep moving here. Monica Stewart, as she's coming to the stage. Monica Stewart is the Director of Operations for AMPT and Louisville Administration of the Music Academy Technology. Also, she is over the Russell Tech Business Incubator, RTBI. Monica is also, she has a master's in business administration. She has an extensive background in banking. Money, yes, money, Monica. Okay, so with Monica, she has an extensive background in banking, human resources, insurance, healthcare, and the nonprofit sector. She seeks to provide career development and encouragement for the educational journeys of adult learners and their families. Her passion is to decrease the digital divide and as well as promote health equity to all families in her community. Monica, which is this is why she started the business that she has, Transitions Caregiver Solutions. Listen, Monica have an answer to your problem. This is why she's here today. She has been a caregiver for her mother, husband, and stepfather over the past 12 years and saw the need to connect families to much needed resources. It has been very rewarding for her to see the positive feedback from families, both in her work and business. Monica is going to take it away and talk about the transitions, the journey of a caregiver. Monica, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sorrel. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you to everyone that joined the call today. We're so excited about this initiative and being able to provide these resources to our caregivers. I would like to kind of start off with my story. My mother was always the person that you reached out to before GPS. So when she got lost coming to my house in 2013, we knew there was a problem. At first, we just thought her forgetting our names and forgetting dates and forgetting to go to things she had planned was part of aging. But with a diagnosis of vascular dementia, it changed our lives. So we had to find out what was the best pathway for us as a family. And I just want to share some of those fundamentals with you to hopefully ease that pathway for you when you're caring for your loved ones. So I'm calling these the ABCs of for caregivers. So we're going to talk about assess your medical needs, build trust with the support team, create legal and financial stability, document changes in health and overall condition, and ensure time for self-care. So when you think about assessing the medical needs for your loved one, early detection is the best pathway. So really being having the ability to go to those medical appointments with your loved one, so you're able to ask questions, you're understanding their prescriptions and other things that they need to do, upcoming appointments, medication adherence, to make sure they are doing those things well. For my mother, her vascular dementia was from not taking her blood pressure medication like she should have. So she was not adhering to her medication as her physician ordered. Also, you should build a support team, whether that's friends, family, because sometimes you will need those breaks to care for yourself, and also be sure that you're doing the things that you need to, as far as like work and caring for children if you have children. So building that support team allows you that time, even if it's just a few hours a day, to do some of the things that you need for yourself and for your family. The C is creating legal stability and financial stability. So for our family, we didn't have a plan. We tried to have those conversations with my mother and stepfather on what are their plans, as far as, do they have life insurance? Do they have long-term care policies? But they wouldn't have those conversations with us. So it's very important for families to have those conversations before it's too late, to come together as a family and make some of those decisions. And you want to build trust with a support team. So that could be your family, someone that's advocating for your loved one, your physicians, medical staff, respite care workers, and even community organizations that maybe it's a daytime facility that your loved one can go to while you're at work. Also, document changes. So if you see any reactions to medications, or your loved one's not themselves anymore, to really touch base with that physician. If they start being lethargic and don't have a desire to do activities. Also, sundowning is something that happens for as people get older, where they mix their days and nights. So it's important to know about that as well, and to document any mental or physical changes, and if they have a change in appetite or you notice bed sores. I did talk about compassion fatigue. A lot of the times when we're caring for our loved ones, we forget about ourselves. Even myself, I went to an appointment and my physician asked me simple questions like, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? And based on those responses, she said that I was in a state of depression. And I would have never known that had I not gone to my physician. With that, I didn't get on any medication. I just found things that I enjoyed, to take those time to get out of the office and go walking, to exercise, and do things I enjoy when I had that time. So that is very important when you're caring for loved ones. Also, think about, what are your greatest challenges as a caregiver? Are you sharing those things with your family members, to see if you can have that support system when you're going through this process? And you may have to think about things, putting things together, whether that's a living will or advanced directive. So the advanced directive allows your loved one to decide if they want to be resuscitated. And that is a family decision you most definitely want to make before that time comes. We want to be sure that we are our best as we're working with our loved ones. My mother's journey went by so fast. Initially, we just thought she would just be able to stay at home. But when my stepfather passed away, the two of them together were okay. But when he passed away, she wasn't able to stay by herself. So she would stay with my family or with her family and or her sister. And one day my aunt went out for the grocery just for about 30, 45 minutes. And usually my mother was fine. But this particular day, my mother walked away from the house. And my aunt was driving around trying to find her, couldn't find her, ended up having to call the police. And the police found her 3 miles from her house. And at that point, that was when we had to put her in a facility with a memory care unit. And that was a hard decision for our family. From there, she was in the facility for about 3 years. And about 3 years ago, she had a fall. We thought she was going to be able to rehab enough to go back to her assisted living facility, but she ended up having to go into long-term care. With that, um, the care at that particular facility, we did not feel like it was up to par. And in July of this year, the facility was closed by the state. Um, I asked if that had anything to do with reports to the long term care ombudsman. So if you have a loved one that's in long term care, there is an advocate called a long term care ombudsman that you can reach out to if you have an issue or concern with a facility. But thankfully, through that transition, my mother was able to move to a facility where they have a very caring staff and are very attentive to her needs and very receptive to calling me if they have any questions about her care. So it's been a really tumultuous journey, but knowing that my mother is in a place where she is thriving, she doesn't know who we are at this time, but just to be there to support her through this and to enjoy every day that we have with her has been a great experience. So I just want to encourage those on this call. For me, my faith has been the main thing that has pushed me forward to be able to really thrive through this journey. And I just want to encourage other caregivers that even though the day may seem grim, things that are happening with your loved ones, not knowing how you're going to get through each day, just be encouraged that you have the strength and ability to move forward and just building that support system with your family and friends to push forward and do all that you need to do to care for your loved one and to know that your loved one is there for you and you can be there to support them and enjoy every day that you have with them. So I'm so excited for this opportunity. If you would like to reach out to me, my email is easing, EASING, transitions, TRANSITIONS, at gmail.com. And that's Transitions Caregiver Solutions. We care because you care. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I thank you for this time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing your information. Do not fret. Do not fret. I will be here. Believe that one. So, Monica, she is, like she said, from Louisville, Kentucky. She is a wonderful business administrator. She does things in the business arena, and then she's also a caregiver, like she just mentioned, for her mother and her stepfather. So, connect with Monica. She gave you the information. If someone can put it in the chat, her connection information. And then also those in the audience, please send out a link for your tribe to come on and watch you wherever you signed up for, be it LinkedIn, YouTube, or what have you, send out the link to your tribe. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing your information, and connect with Monica. She is a caregiver for her mother. Those of you, I know a lot of you have taken care of your parents. Connect with her. She has some wonderful information for you. Thank you so much, Monica.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're back. We're still here and we're going to have a great time. It's still early. It's on like 9, 10 in the morning. Some of you may be at work, and you can absolutely watch the replay later on this evening. So we have next coming to the stage is a wonderful, wonderful, not new to the speaker arena at all, Dr. Patricia Goodman. I'm just going to bring her up to the stage and go ahead and introduce her in a minute here. But Dr. Patricia Goodman, she's not new to the speaking arena. She has been in the business for a long time. Dr. Patricia is going to come and talk to us about the importance of being a caregiver. She's in the money making business. How about that? She's a certified master coach, focusing on healing and deliverance. She also lead intercessory prayer for the Herpreneur Network. She's an elite herpreneur for the network internationally. She's a wealth builder, a wide partner. Dr. Patricia, she connects men and women globally to a system that provides passive income through mentorship. She also is a caregiver or was a caregiver for her grandmother, and also she's a caregiver for her cousin. So you're going to see a lot of caregivers today that speak about taking care of family members. Number one is family. So that is the main thing: family members, husband, wives, spouses, and also taking care of people in the community professionally in the healthcare arena. So coming to the stage next is no other than Dr. Patricia Goodman. Dr. Patricia, take it away.
Yes, I am unmute. Good morning, Queen Sherelle. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Dr. Patricia Goodman. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of sharing my journey with you. That's incredibly close to my heart. The significance of being a caregiver. The third chapter, first through the 22nd verse, which beautifully encloses variant to be born, a time as a birth to my son. It was at that moment I realized that being a caregiver means more than simply tending to someone's a divine calling. The role of a piece of music is to create beauty. I reflect on a challenged time in my life when my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. I was in denial and found it work with caregiving. She was a spiritual leader. Her passing was pain deeply. I also share a mental illness, became the shooting grandmama. I was her action and mental health for a friend who was diagnosed as he fought fiercely to survive, and mental health as far as mine posed by his illness. However, through these trials, I discovered my true calling as a caregiver. I pursued a career as a mental health worker and a residential caregiver, providing I came to understand the immense value in embracing the role lesson. Now, I conclude by sharing some caregiving journey. Number one, the explore programs that helps balance caregiving with work. See, when all of this was still going on, Lord programs. Number three, prioritize self-care. Find ways. I have finished it's that my journey can inspire a blessing to other platforms. And my name is CA. That's for allowing me to share my story with you today. And I hope that my experience can provide inspiration and guidance on your own caregiving journey. Thank you. Well, I don't.
Thank you.
Dr. Minister, preacher, intercessor, youth and healing, deliverance speaker. I'm also author and elite ambassador for the Herpreneur Network. I am a wealth builder global partner and the owner of Cryptocurrency Wealth, and I proudly serve as the 22 Level Up Ambassador. So that's all about me.
Is that everything, Dr. Dr. Queen Patricia? It's just so much that's going on already. But thank you so much for sharing your story, Queen Dr. Patricia. Is wonderful. And I love when you talk about how you cared for your son, your cousin, your grandmother. We're all in the caregiving business, right? So we thank you for that caregiving story, your products, and your services. So I have one question for you, though. I know they can put comments. All of you in the listening audience, if you have your other technology that you can comment in the audience, please, and engage with the speakers as they come forth to speak, that would be wonderful. We want this to be engaged, and we want you to understand that we're not just here telling stories. We're here engaging with you, letting you know what we do, how we do it, and when we do it. So please comment and engage with the speakers on stage and off. So with that being said, Dr. Patricia, I just want you to leave us with one thing that you would tell a caregiver right now that is in a position right now where they really don't want to be there. They kind of like burnt out and fatigued. What is one thing that you would tell a caregiver today?
I would say pray. Prayer is the way. You have to pray your way through. I would say pray to a higher calling in order to walk this out as a believer.
Beautiful. And we know prayer does work. It does keep us in that stamina where we can be in a position to continue to care for someone else, because as people, we are human beings, and we do find ourselves getting fatigued and burned out, lonely, the whole 9 yards. So thank you for that. With prayer, that's just one key. Listen, stick and stay, because there are more keys to being a successful caregiver. Dr. Patricia, thank you so much for that. Okay, it is so wonderful. We're going to keep this thing going. We have some other speakers that's coming to share their wonderful caregiver stories. We have people that's in professional healthcare. We have those that's family healthcare professionals, and those is just just caregivers, just taking care of someone in the family, a neighbor, a friend. And then you already know about those in hospitals, clinics, and other places where there are direct caregiver workers. So we have other speakers that's coming to the virtual stage to share their caregiver stories, products, and services with you. So stick and stay. You have a link that was sent out for everyone to send your tribe to come on and join us now. You can check your email, send out the link, and have your tribe to come join us right now on the inaugural National Family Caregiver Conference for 2023. We know some people are at work, but a lot of people are not, and they can come on in and join us. We want you all to be engaging. Put comments in the comment section, and talk to the speakers. I mean, they're not untouchable. You can reach out to them, right? So next, we have coming to the stage the wonderful Matis Ski. I'm telling you, it does not stop. Caregiving is all the time, professionally or in the hospitals, it does not matter. I'm going to bring this wonderful young lady up to the stage as I introduce her so you can see her face. Matis Skeet is a lifelong learner. Hi, Miss Sister Matis. Might as well bring you on up to the stage. I'm going to have you take it away in a minute. So Matis Skeet is a lifelong learner. She's a passionate administrator and a champion of God-given health principle. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology, Medical Technology, and a Master's in Public Administration Healthcare. Matis is a member of the American Heart Association, American College of Sports Medicine, and the Functional Aging Institute. She is the owner and president of Get Up and Move LLC. Now that move is with two O's. That means move something, right?
Right.
And she is a personal trainer that's fun and effective. Matis retired now. She's retired from the healthcare administration in 2019 and now serves as a wellness coach and a personal trainer in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She will be one of the featured speakers today on the Global Caregivers Conference this year. She was with us before, and she's coming back to share even more experience that she have already done in the past and moving towards the future. So, Matis, I'm gonna have you take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Sherelle, and thank you everyone for coming on this morning or afternoon or evening to listen to our presentations. We're happy that you're here. As Sherelle has said, my name is Maida Skeet, and I was a caregiver to my mother for 6.5 years. I began my caregiving journey while working full-time as a healthcare administration. Now, I know those of you who are in healthcare or have been in healthcare, you understand and know that healthcare means that there are long hours and the work can sometimes be just overwhelming. Well, I cared for my mother while she was in her home, and she lived over an hour away from me. But before I get into the heart of my story, I want to start out by asking a question. Do you remember as a child being told to eat your vegetables, sit up properly, go to bed so that you can get to some sleep and you'll be alert the next day for school? Well, some of you probably are even telling your children that, or maybe your grandchildren now. But the question is, why do we tell our children such? It's because we know it's for their good. We know that these things will help them grow and be strong and will help them presently and also for their future. Because we want our children and our grandchildren to thrive and to be healthy mentally and physically. Well, I'm here to tell you that those same principles are parallel to the self care for caregivers. You know, life is unpredictable. We don't know what may happen from one day to the next. Our plans may be upset. Goals that we set for ourselves may not happen. And probably most of you who are on this conference with us today, probably if you're family caregivers, that's not something that you probably signed up for. You weren't standing in line to do that. We know from statistics that many of us will play a part in caregiving in our lifetime, especially with Americans living longer and people getting older and our parents are aging. We probably would end up being a caregiver, or we have been a caregiver, or we know someone who is a caregiver. I mean, there's no way of getting around it. Caregiving is here to stay. So today, what I want to share with you are three principles, three learning principles that I learned as a caregiver. And I'm calling my presentation my wake-up calls, okay? So my caregiving experience started in 2013 when my mother fell. She fell in her home and she fractured her spine. It was a pretty bad fracture. She was no longer able to walk after that. Now, my mother was coherent, so it wasn't that she had dementia or anything. She had all of her faculties, but she could do nothing for herself. So I was the only child. There were four of us. My mother had four children. I was the only one who lived in the same state as my mother. And although we all were devastated at this situation, we came together and it was decided, and I gladly took on the responsibility of being my mother's primary caregiver. We decided that she would stay in her home because of all the options. That seemed to have been the best one. It was giving her the ability to be able to stay in her own habitat, to see her neighbors around the area. She could do that, and just be in the close area of where her church members were. So I took on the responsibility gladly. I was happy to be my mother's caregiver, and my brothers renovated the house so that it was wheelchair accessible. And I mentioned to you earlier that I worked a full-time job as a healthcare administrator. Well, I also ran a home-based business. I'm married to an evangelist. I worked in the church and I volunteered for Habitat. So did you think I have enough to do? I sure did. And then I became a caregiver. But I thought I could handle it. Now, on Friday evenings, I would leave work, drive to my mother's house, and then I would begin my weekend practice of going to the grocery store and shopping and cooking for the week and dispensing medicine, running errands, getting up at night to take care of her and trying to spend some quality time with her, and on and on and on. Then I would leave on Sunday, going back to my home Sunday evening so I could get ready for work on Monday. And as time went on, I began to be famished. I wasn't eating right, but you know what? I had not been eating right prior to becoming a caregiver. I told you that my life as a healthcare administrator was really pretty hectic. It was actually a very stressful job. And as I look back on it, I probably let it be more stressful than what I really needed to be. So there were many times I'm in meetings, or I'm running from one meeting, or I'm putting out one fire to the next. And so I wouldn't eat lunch, or I wouldn't eat the right thing. Or when I did get to eat, I would be famished. Or I'd have to run to my home-based business network meeting, get home later at night at 9 o'clock. And what do I eat? Oh, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that. I really wasn't taking care of myself. staying up late at night, doing reports, or sometimes just not wanting to go to bed, being a bedtime procrastinator, trying to exercise hit and miss, but really not doing it very well. You see, I really wasn't taking care of myself before becoming a caregiver. So when I became a caregiver, I was under even more stress. So one day I was running on the treadmill and I experienced this stabbing pain in my chest. I lowered the grade of the treadmill and the pain subsided. So I completed my workout. I felt okay for the rest of that evening. But I remembered that 3 weeks prior to that, I had that same episode to happen when I ran across the street to catch a bus. Now, Michigan has cold winters. So I just, said, well, the air was cold, so I probably breathed in some air and my lungs didn't like it. But this time I thought maybe I should go and have it checked out. I know I'm pretty healthy, but let me just go and get it checked out just in case something is up. I want to tell you that that was a wake-up call because when I went to the doctor and she sent me directly to ER and they ran a battery of tests, it came out that I had a 90% blockage in my widowmaker, the LAD. Now, they call it a widowmaker for a reason because one thing, if you have a heart attack, you're generally just dead. I was devastated. I'm serious. I was blown out of the world, basically. I'm thinking, how does this happen to me? I mean, I'm a vegetarian. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm taking care of my mom. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I'm not that bad off. Well, I spent a lot of time in prayer because I believe that prayer works wonders. And I believe that God will give you answers. And during that time in prayer, as I was convalescing, it became very clear to me. It became very clear to me that I was not following the Creator's plan for mankind and what we are supposed to do, how we are supposed to take care of ourselves. And that's what I call guilt-free self-care. Now, I know it sounds simplistic because these are the things that we talk about all the time, eat your fruits and vegetables, get enough sleep, or get exercise, but it's very important. I mean, I want to stress that to you more than anything else today. Whether you are a caregiver now or you will be a caregiver in the future. Because as I said before, life is unpredictable. You need to take care of yourself. Practice that guilt-free self-care that is so easy for us to neglect. It is important. Nothing in life, the job and nothing else, is going to take care of you when you're sick. So do it now. This is a prevention plan that I want to bring to people, that this is the way that we should live, taking care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves first, we will not be able to take care of our loved ones. And not only that, if we take care of ourselves first, it'll help us to do a much better job. So that's my first wake-up call. And I mentioned that and talk in detail about it in my book that I wrote, which is Self-Care for the Caregiver, a guilt-free way to love yourself while caring for others. But number two, I want to go on to number two because that has to do with building healthy boundaries. That was my second wake-up call. As once I became a caregiver, I had to learn to say no. I mentioned to you earlier that I was involved in various committees and I was on several boards at work and at church. And I guess these things make me feel important. But you know what? When I became a caregiver, I had to give up some of that stuff. I had to only do the things that I could adequately handle. You have to be on guard and you must be insightful as to what you can handle successfully and what things rob you of valuable rest and negative circumstances. I want to give you the example of building a swimming pool. If you wanted to install a swimming pool, you wouldn't have the contractors to just dig a hole in the ground and then fill it up with water, would you? Of course not. That they would end up putting down some barriers like plastic, steel, concrete, maybe some ceramic tile or whatever on the bottom and around the periphery. Now, why would they do that? Because they want to keep the clean air in. That's where you're going to relax and swim. Clean water. Keep the clean water in where you can relax and you can swim. But at the same time, you want to keep out the dirt and the debris and the worms and things. That's the way it is with life and in caregiving especially. We want to be able to keep in those things that are adding value, the things that are important in your life. Keep those in place so that you can do your best work. And at the same time, keep out those unimportant things. Every successful person that I've read about, had boundaries, and caregivers need to have boundaries. So that was step number 2, my wake up call. Now, the last one you've already heard some of the people speak about. Dr. Goodman said it, Monica Stewart said it. I'm going to say it again. Get help. When I first started my caregiving experience, I thought that I could handle this challenge with the assistance of a couple of good friends, a couple of church members, and I learned very quickly that I needed help. I needed to build a coalition of helpers who I could call upon for various situations. Caregivers need help. I can't stress that more than enough. So don't be too proud to say, oh, I can do it. I don't need any help. We're doing okay. Because you know what? You need respite time. You need help. There are times that you just need to maybe be by yourself. And you need to bring in other family members and other people to let them know that I need your help. Learn about the resources and the agencies that are available. Those of you who are here today in this conference, this is a great resource. There are a lot of people here who have some valuable information. Monica mentioned about talking about wills and trust and advanced directives. I'm going to echo that. You need to get those things in place. And you know, if you're not a caregiver, it's a good thing to get those in place now, because when the time comes, it will be so much of a relief. That's one stressor that's off of you. Think of things that you need to do to just put things together. Agencies. I worked a lot with Area Agency on Aging, and they were helpful with helping people to come in to do her hygiene and things like that. The main thing I want to say here is get the help that you need. And that includes even if you need mental health. Sometimes we don't know it, but you may just need to get with a social worker or your physician or someone so that you can stay mentally and as well as physically strong. So I want you to keep this information in mind as you go through your caregiving journey. And again, I want to share with you my book. I'm going to put that in the chat where you can find it on Barnes and Nobles. It's Self-Care for the Caregivers, a guilt-free way to love yourself while caring for others. Those are my 3 things that I want to share with you today. I'm so excited and happy that you allowed me to share. And I just wish that God bless you in all of your caregiving experience. And those who are helpers, thank you so much. And thank all of you for the work that you do. Thank you.
Technology. Let's keep it going. Matus, thank you so much for presenting your presentation on guilt-free self-care. Thank you so much. I just want to share, because I've been listening to everyone that's been talking, right? And I hope you guys are taking down notes, because I am. And we need, if you can, share and put one key that you have received from each speaker so far. Put it in the chat, because I'm telling you right now, all of this is going to come back full circle at one time or another in your life. So one thing or two that I got from Matis, right, with her 3 tips or her 3 keys. Listen, set boundaries, build healthy boundaries. No is a complete sentence, right? We as caregivers, we cannot do everything for everyone, and we cannot be everything to everyone. So choose to set healthy boundaries. Monica talked about different things as well, as far as being a caregiver for her mother, right? So one key that I picked up from Monica is to just be you and prioritize what you need to do in self-care for you. And same thing, I piggyback on Dr. Patricia Goodman. She spoke about self-care as well. Make self-care a priority in your life. I'm telling you right now, for me, I cannot do it. I cannot be everything to everybody, but I can be to somebody. Everyone needs a healthy environment, and caregivers, we sometimes have an issue with saying no. Put that in the chat. If you, as a caregiver, make sure you take care of yourself. Prioritize you as number one. I want someone to put in the chat, prioritize you as number one. In other words, I'm doing everything for me to take care of me so that what? I can take care of you. Now, just a little intermission right here, station of identification. You have just entered into the Inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference if you're just joining us. This is our 2023 edition, and some of you may know that November is National Family Caregivers Month. If you don't, now you know. So life is wonderful. Listen, you have to laugh. You have to laugh at yourself. You cannot be so serious about things that's going on. Listen, laughter is good for the soul. So even with that being said, I want you all to put in the chat, what did you receive from each speaker? We had 3 speakers that came forth already. Put in the chat what you have received from each one with their name. Because what I want you to do later, because everyone is not here to listen to the live, put in the replay. Even when you come back for the replay, put in what you learned from the people. Because we're all here to learn, educate, and inform others about being caregivers. And listen, this is just the beginning. We have some other caregiver speakers that's going to come forth after the commercial break. Some of the speakers that's coming forth is going to be Tracy Lamb, Dr. Jennifer Stelter, Dave Nazanin, Laura Herman, and Tony Giddos is going to close us out for this day 1 of the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference, the November 2023 edition. So listen, talk to us, put in the comments what you think about the conference so far, and connect with the caregivers. So with that being said, we're going to take a session of identification, and we're going to catch you on the flip side in about 10 minutes. Take a break, come back refreshed and renewed. Listen, go get your coffee, your tea. I know it's early for some of you, but listen, I already been up. So I already had my water, but I'm going to give me some tea for my throat. It's a little raspy, but I'm still good. I'm still good. I'm still here. And we're going to keep this going. So we're going to catch you in about 10 minutes, about 10 or 15 minutes. Meet us back here at 10 o'clock. And Tracy Lamb is going to come and talk to us about caregiving through adversity. We'll see you back at about 10, and we're going to come back and have a good time. I'm going to get me some tea, y'all. We'll see you back in a minute. Okay, good people, we are back. We are back. We are back. Thank you so much for joining us. Those of you who are coming in, those of you who are still here, you have just entered the inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference, the November edition 2023. This platform right here, the Global Caregivers Network, is exclusively for caregivers. I love being a caregiver. I love what I do. And guess what? Everyone else on this platform is in the caregiver arena as a professional healthcare provider or a family caregiver. So we love what we do. We specialize in different areas. We have experts on the panels that's going to come and share their wonderful story, products, and services with you today. So let's keep this thing going. We have next coming to the stage is the wonderful Tracy Lamb. Tracy Lamb is not new to the caregiving arena. Let me bring her up to the stage while I introduce her. Tracy, good morning. Good morning. How are you, Tracy?
I am great. I am great,
That's
Sherelle.
okay.
How are
We're gonna
you?
keep going. It's okay. So Tracy, what she comes I am fantastic. It's a great day on the virtual stage of the National Family Caregivers. So as we know, I'm just going to introduce Tracy because she has so much going on. She's like ahead of me in the game of caregiving. So Tracy, it was so wonderful to meet Tracy as we connected and became good friends. Now we're going to definitely be doing things in the caregiving arena. So Tracy Lamb, she is not new to the caregiving arena either. She is the CEO and founder of Smart Caregiving LLC, which offers a global mass media platform to market her companies to people who take care of their loved ones, their moms, their dads, special needs children, etc. at home. Tracy currently have two radio shows that hit over 350,000 listeners on four different radio platforms every month. One is a weekly and the other is a monthly show. Tracy, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to come on one of them talk shows because you know I like to talk. So we're going to get this going. Her own network of TV series that will be related in the healthcare industry. She's currently in pre-production of four new series, including a B2B series, the B2B business to business series that would be called Healthcare Innovators in Business. In addition, she has four additional new series that will be coming out by Q1 of 2024. Tracy, she has some wonderful things coming forth for 2024. We're definitely going to be partnering and connecting with Tracy Lamb. But right now, I'm going to let Tracy Lamb share her story her way. Thank you so much for joining us, Tracy. Tracy is going to share with us caregiving and adversities. And we know there's a lot of adversities with caregiving. So, Tracy, thank you so much and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, Sherelle. I'm really glad to be here today. I am excited to share my caregiving story. I have a caregiving story just like everybody else. I tell everybody that I talk to on a regular basis that I do believe caregiving will eventually touch everybody, no matter if you are going to take care of your parents, if you take care of a special needs child, a friend may come to you and say that they need help. Somehow, some way, caregiving is eventually going to touch you, and your life can change on a dime. As a lot of the speakers have already said, you go from having your normal day-to-day routine, and then all of a sudden your life completely changes. My background is from hospice. I worked for hospice for 14 years, and during that time, I talked to a lot of caregivers, and I could talk the talk of caregiving, but I really hadn't had to walk the walk yet. And I started my company back in 2019, and I had gotten divorced. I don't have any kids. And in 2020, when COVID hit, I moved in with my parents because both of them had congestive heart failure and COPD. And so I wanted to be able to take care of them and protect them, because COVID, everybody didn't know what was happening with COVID. So I moved in with them, and by 2021, my business was starting to go pretty well. But then both of my parents got sick. My 81-year-old mom decided to have total knee replacement surgery, which went really, really bad. And my dad had been declining for quite a while, but my mom had kind of babied him for the last 60 years. They had been married for 60 years, and my mom babied my dad a lot. And so when all of a sudden she could no longer take care of him, like on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis, literally, he just immediately started massively declining. So I put my whole company on hold for the next 11 months, and I went into full caregiver mode myself. And, being in the healthcare space, knowing about some things in caregiving, knowing about resources and everything, it's so different when you actually get into it. It becomes all consuming, it consumes your whole life. It becomes, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every single aspect. And one of the key concepts that everybody has said, and I will say too, self-care is really important. I had heard that, and I had told that to a lot of people in hospice, but I never really truly understood that until I actually got into the caregiving space. I'm going to share a few things along my journey that have helped me, and hopefully you'll be able to take some things away from this. But, when I got into caregiving with both my mom and my dad was former military. He was Army. He did not like being sick. He did not want to be sick. He did not want to die. He was a very reluctant patient and troublesome patient, to put it nicely. It was extremely difficult to deal with him because he did not want to be sick. And at the same time, my mom could not even get out of bed. There was nothing that was comfortable for her. Her knee surgery just went absolutely horrible. And so then when my dad kept falling, and every time my dad was a big man, and every time he fell, we had to call the EMTs to come and pick him up. And so they literally got to where they came out daily. And so finally we were able to get him to a facility. Again, that's another one thing that a lot of people don't know. People think that Medicare and Medicaid is going to pay for everything. And unfortunately it doesn't. Medicare will only pay for 100 days in a nursing home. And a lot of people don't know that. And you need to understand that. And I knew that, but implementing a lot of this stuff became difficult. When my dad went into the facility, he was there for 30 days. Then he came back home for 4 days. Right before Thanksgiving, he started falling again. And then we ended up having to get him back to a facility for total complete care because he was no longer able to walk. He basically became bedbound in November of 22. When he did, I found out that he had no life savings. He was completely destitute. And my mom and I and him had been living in a place, and there was all the money started going to the facility. And so there was no money to pay rent. And my mom and I basically became almost homeless. And took me about a month, and I finally found a good friend that was willing to let us move in rent-free and stay with them. We ended up staying with them for about 3 months. And I finally found a place when my dad ended up passing away in February of 22. I still take care of my mom. And when my dad passed, he had a $15,000 life insurance policy. And when he died, we found out he had taken $10,000 loan against the policy. And so mom got $5,000 when he died. And I ended up finding a place. I didn't even know this existed. We moved into a double wide trailer that they put a single piece of sheetrock down one side and called it a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. On the other side, they put a half of a piece of sheetrock and split it into half and called it a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. It was 428 square feet. And I gave my mother the bedroom, and I slept on the floor for the next year. And that's how I built my business. So it has been a crazy journey. And, thankfully, by the grace of God, we are no longer there. We were able to move into a rental home in March of this year. And so things have gotten better. But, it has been a lot of trials and tribulations, good and bad, a lot of different things that have happened. There's 2 or 3 things I want to tell people. First of all, you are stronger than you know. I think when all of this happened, especially when I thought Mom and I were going to be homeless, I really had no idea what we were going to do. I went to bed more than one night crying myself to sleep. And prayer really works. I'm living proof of that. Miracles do happen. It's been completely amazing. And then the second thing I would say is learn to push through the fear. Fear can paralyze you, and it paralyzed me for quite a while because I didn't know what to do. Both of my siblings have passed. My older sister died 15 years ago in a car crash. My younger brother died 5 years ago from alcoholism. So when all this happened, it was literally me and my mother, and that was it. And I was left with the responsibility of taking care of her. And that's a really huge responsibility. And so when you're wanting to do well by your mom or dad or whoever, and you're wanting to do that, and you don't really have the financial means to do that, and you haven't planned for it. And unfortunately, I didn't find out that my dad hadn't planned for it until too late. And unfortunately, that can be a really bad thing. So one of the things I really, really tell people to do is to really plan for aging. We are all in this aging line. None of us are going to get out of it. So for your family's sake and the people that love you and that are going to be caring for you, plan for it. Have advance directives. Advance directives are really, really, really important. And I know a lot of people say, well, I can't afford a $400 an hour attorney. Most people can't. God knows I can't. And there's a company called Legal Shield. You can join even just for a month for $30, and you can get advance directives done. You can get a power of attorney done. You can get a healthcare surrogate done. You can get a living will done. When my sister died, she had a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. She had no power of attorney. And they ended up having to go back to a dad that was abusive. And that was because there was no power of attorney. My brother ended up getting on a ventilator after a surgery that he never should have had. And it ended up, because he didn't have a living will, my parents had to be the one to make the decision about when to turn the vent off. Those are things that families should not have to go through. And if you can make those decisions while you're alert and you're cognizant and you can say, this is what I want to do, then that's a beautiful thing. It's going to really help the people that are left for you. Planning for all this stuff. I know people look sometimes, when I started the TV show, I know there was nothing really into caregiving. And, people were saying, well, I think people look at it like, well, it's aging and then it's dying. Well, first of all, I try to do everything on my shows, whether it's radio or TV. I try to make it all in a positive way, because the reality is this is happening to everybody. It's like everybody has said on the show, this is what's happening to everybody. It's not going to change, so if you can accept it, it's kind of like paying taxes. None of us like paying taxes, but we have to do it. So if you can accept the fact that, okay, this is going to happen, then why don't I get a plan in place so that those that actually really do love me and care about me, that there will be a plan that I'm aware of, that I like, and that I'm okay with, and that these people that are caring for me are not going to be put in a position like I was with my dad. I love my dad to death. He was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful father. But I think either one or two things. He either never thought he was going to die, or he just thought, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. And unfortunately, he got sick really quick, and he literally within 7 or 8 months he was gone. And then he decided to not really tell us about all of the financial situations. The other thing is to take baby steps. Sometimes you get in a position when you're caregiving where you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know where to go. First of all, remember, you are not alone. There are so many people doing what you're doing. There was a study done literally 2 years ago in 2021, there's over 56 million unpaid caregivers. 56 million. That's just in the US. And there are over 14 million in the UK and over 7 million in Canada. This is a global problem. That's why Sherelle calls it global caregivers, because it's true. This is a global problem. This is not just here, and you are not alone. There are tons of communities that can help you, that people that have fantastic resources out there that can help you. I'm a big believer and a big proponent of having a one-stop shop for caregivers. That's basically what I've created, because I feel like, you can't Google what you don't know exists. And there's a lot of companies out there that offer products, services, resources that can help you on your caregiving journey. But the reality is that if you don't know they exist, then how in the world are you ever going to find them? So that's part of what I've created. I do have a TV network. It's called Caregiving Worldwide Network. It is on Roku and Hulu, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Google TV. I'll put it in the chat so that everybody can find it. I would love for you to be able to see it. Our first show dropped in January of this year, and we were able to bring on 12 different companies with 12 different products and services to help caregivers. And we've just created a brand new show called Safe and Sound. It's actually dropping next week. There's a website called safeandsound.media that you can go to, and that's basically going to become, for all intents and purposes, an Angie's List for caregivers. And it's going to be a worldwide website where everything can live. And I really want to get it to where, honestly, by the end of next year, you can go in there and you can put, my mom has Parkinson's or dementia or Alzheimer's, and you'll be able to see all the different resources that can help you with that. My heart and my passion is helping people. That's why I worked for hospice for 14 years, and it's why I'm here today. And it's why I created my company. And I am still in the caregiving space. I still take care, like I say, I still take care of mom. So I know what it's like. I know the day-to-day. I know the day-to-day grind. I will say last two things, and I will say this. I agree with everybody that everything that everybody has said previously. Self-care is so important. I did not understand that until I got into the caregiving space. You really do have to take care of yourself, because you can become consumed with your person. You love your person and you care about your person. And yet, if you don't take care of you, then you're not going to be there to be able to take care of them. My mom says that to me all the time. She's like, Tracy, please take care of yourself. If something happens to you, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's true, because right now I'm really all she has. And that's what you have to remember, is that they need you, and they need you healthy, and they need you taking care of yourself. So you need to do that. And for me, the last thing is that honestly, prayer is what's gotten me through this whole thing. My belief in God, whether you have a belief in a higher power, whatever it may be. I strongly believe that God has a purpose for every one of us here. And I have finally found my purpose. It took me a long time, over 50 years to find my purpose, but I really do believe that I have found my purpose with what I do, and I love it. So you can go to caregivingworldwide.com to find me. You can also go to safeandsound.media. That's our global resources for products and services. And you can connect with me anytime. I'm always happy to talk to any caregiver and talk to you about anything that you need. I'm always here to help. So thank you very much. And I hope you've been able to be uplifted and encouraged and learn something from what I've said today. You're muted. Cheryl, you're muted. There you go.
Oh my goodness, I am. Oh my goodness, yes. So Tracy and all the other speakers that have went forth already, listen, I'm so excited about what you guys are sharing today. We need to hear this. And we're going to share this out later. Like I said, I know some people might not be able to watch it right now, but please like and comment and share. Comment in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Comment. What is one thing that you're taking away from what Tracy just said? Tracy and the other speakers have already shared some wonderful information. Listen, I'm writing in the chat through my phone. I'm duoing, as you want, if you will. I'm on my phone. I'm commenting right from my phone in the chat because later I might not be able to remember it. And also, I'm writing down some things. So, Tracy, let me share this right quick because you talked about the adversities of being a caregiver.
Yeah.
One thing I heard you say, and I was back here tearing for a minute because it's so real what we're doing and taking care of loved ones, right? So
Yeah.
when you shared about you had to sleep on the floor for a year, that is real. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Sure.
saying? And people have to understand what we go through as caregivers, be it professional or family. There are adversities that we're going to have to push through. And Tracy, I am so
Yeah.
glad that you pushed through because you are here today to share with us things that you have done to get through the adversity.
Thank you so much. And
And so
I
we
really do.
thank you.
Well,
And I
thank
would
you
like
so
for
much.
everyone to stay.
I
And
was
that
going to
is so
say,
real. And I receive everything that you said, Tracy, because there's
somebody asked me in the chat about where they could find my TV show. So I just want to say that super quick. You can go to the RHS TV channel. It stands for Red House Streaming TV channel. And you can put that on Roku, Hulu, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Google TV. Look for Caregiving Worldwide. And you'll also see Safe and Sound is about to drop as well. That's going to be dropping this week. So I would love to have you guys come and see the show. It's a wonderful show. And we love being able to talk to our caregivers and talk to new companies and show new things. So please feel free to join us anytime.
yes, Tracy, thank you so much. You know what's just we're all going to be partnering and doing things together for the future because it takes everyone. It literally and it does take a village. I'm telling you, with everything that's going on since the COVID, right? The COVID came through. Nobody knows what's going on, right? It's just something came through and it's still out there. I still wear my mask. I'm still in the healthcare field. And ladies and gentlemen, please continue to be careful. This virus or whatever it is out here. It's still out here in the air. And so, Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your products, your services, and especially your caregiving story. Thank you so much, Tracy. And we look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I mean, I am so full right now. I listen to the speakers and I share, get a pen and a paper because it's so much that you're going to hear today. And you want to connect with each speaker if you can. Someone today and tomorrow, this is just a one of our Global Caregivers National Family Caregivers Conference. This is just day one. Day two is tomorrow. But the speakers today, I am already full, and we just had 4 speakers come up so far. I'm telling you right now, you want to connect with these speakers. They have some wonderful caregiving stories, products, and services. And I know I'm already connected with all of them, and we are going to be partnering for the future. You're going to see us in the future. We have some things that's going to be coming forth for 2024. Of course, we'll continue to have the National Family Caregiver Conference every year, but we're looking forward to coming and being live in person next year. So set your calendars for the second week in November. I'm already writing down the dates and the time because we want you to join us live. We're going to have live speakers and we're going to bring some other things that's coming forth for next year. You always got to be ahead of the 8 ball if you can and not behind it, right? So I'm just saying, set your calendar accordingly for next year, right? That's just something that's coming forth for next year. So while I'm prepping up for the next speaker, Everyone's back. I can see them. They all back there smiling and drinking their tea because they're going to need it, and coffee, because it's a lot going on today. And we definitely want them to connect with you. So next coming to the stage is our wonderful, let me just share this too. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you can, stick around to the end. I want you all to come up to the stage, and I want you to share with the audience. Download this right now. One thing that you want them to do or say, or one key successful tip you want to give to the audience. That's going to be at the end. So let's get through the speakers now. The wonderful Dr. Jennifer Stelter is coming to the stage next. Let me add her to the stage. Let me just share something about Dr. Jennifer. I called Dr. Jennifer. Good morning, Dr. Jennifer. Welcome, welcome. Okay,
good morning.
There you go. Perfect. There you go. Oh, we matched. You got on black. I got on red. We offset and beautiful. Good morning. Okay, so Dr. Jennifer Stelter. I call her the essential oil queen. Okay, she got the look. She got the essential oils going. Dr. Jennifer is out of Chicago, Illinois. Her topic for today is going to be a new model of care giving. A new model of care. Dementia Connection Model. Dr. Jennifer is the co-founder and chief executive officer that have created the Dementia Connection Model, and she is also a dementia expert. You want something to know about dementia? Connect with Dr. Jennifer Stelter. She is also known as the oil doctor. She is also a clinical psychologist, dementia expert, and Johns Hopkins Press author who specializes in dementia care. She has 20 years experience in the healthcare field and over a dozen in the senior living industry. Dr. Stelter is the co-founder and CEO of Neuroessence LLC. And she is also the innovator and creator of the Dementia Connection Model. Wow, so much going on in the dementia world, right? So Dr. Jennifer Stelter, take it away.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I really appreciate having me on, and I've just loved being a part of these conferences that you hold throughout the year. So thank you so much, as I know it's very beneficial to family caregivers, but also healthcare professionals in the industry too. So thank you again. So, just to talk a little bit about, how I got into this industry, being a clinical psychologist, actually my first part of my career was strictly in mental health. And then I kind of fell into senior living like a lot of people do. But a lot of people usually fall into senior living because they had someone that they were caring for, mom, dad, or brother, sister, something like that. And my journey is a little bit different, actually. I started working with seniors in my postdoctoral experience at Northwestern University. I was doing research between Northwestern and the Hines VA, and really supporting seniors in learning how to adapt healthy lifestyles into their day-to-day, and just absolutely fell in love with the senior population. I had really not worked with them before. And then after that, after I graduated from my postdoc, I moved into senior living and worked on the behavioral health realm, but then quickly was kind of recruited into memory care as the company that I was consulting with really needed a lot of support in that area. And so I had the opportunity to be able to kind of revamp the entire program from the ground up and be able to really train and educate and implement a thriving program that they know today. And so, I just really fell in love with working with people with dementia, their families, the staff. It was just such a dynamic experience for me that I knew this was my calling. And so the rest is history, but really in that time, I had the opportunity to develop that model of care that you talked about, Cheryl, Dementia Connection Model, had the ability to be able to implement it and collect data on it, and then pitch it to Johns Hopkins. From there, we wrote a book together. that came out in 2021. It's called The Busy Caregiver's Guide to Advanced Alzheimer's Disease, which you can really find anywhere books are sold. And from there, then created the Dementia Connection Institute with myself, and I have a business partner. Her name is Jessica Ryan. She's a biologist. And putting our heads together as a small, female-owned business, we really thrive on trying to educate people as much as possible. So at the Institute, what we do is we provide a lot of education and training, not only to healthcare professionals and organizations, but we actually work a lot with family caregivers. So we're the first institute open to all types of caregivers, no matter your status. And so we do a lot of that. We also provide consultative work. So neuropsych evaluations, we develop programs for organizations. We work one-on-one with families to help them through the journey, and really providing that support. And we have a lot of resources on our website, dementiaconnectioninstitute.org. We've been on a number of podcasts, featured in magazines, things like that, that are free to you on our website. So hopefully you'll check us out there. But I wanted to dive into what is the dementia connection model before I kind of talk about. I want to focus a lot on olfactory stimulation today, as it's one of the most powerful ways that you can connect to someone living with dementia. So the dementia connection model was developed over a 10-year period of really educating people, seeing what they understood, looking at how do we connect to people from a physiological and a psychological perspective, and then with what tools, what are tangible tools that any caregiver can use when they're working with someone to really facilitate that connection. So the dementia connection model is a framework. Okay, it's 3 pillars. The first pillar is more of an explanation of what's happening as the disease progresses. So that is called the theory of retrogenesis. Okay, has anybody heard that? The theory of retrogenesis? If you have, throw it in the chat box. That theory, I did not create that. That was actually developed through extensive years of research from Dr. Barry Reisberg, who I highly respect. And he's kind of one of the founding fathers, if you will, in dementia care. And he found through his research that as the disease progresses, the individual all their skill sets are moving towards a more younger state, if you will. Okay, all skills. So their ability to walk and talk and take care of themselves and cope with stress, all those kinds of things. And why is that important for us to know that is because as caregivers, when we look at the people we're caring for, we see them as an adult. So our expectation is, well, they should act like adults. They should have the maturity of an adult. They should have the skill set of an adult. They should be able to pay their bills, drive, navigate, even, brush their teeth, all those kinds of things. But the reality is when someone has dementia, because their brain is deteriorating slowly, they don't have those abilities. And so what Dr. Barry Reisberg found was that the brain actually looked very similar to anywhere from a 7-year-old to a 4-week-old. Okay. I'm going to say that again, a 7-year-old to a 4-week-old. So developmentally, that person is not where we expect them to be. So because if we accept and know that, we can lower expectations of what that person can do and really work with them on trying to support them with what skills they still have. Okay. This is not about treating them like children, by no means. It's about understanding. That's what that first pillar is. And so to further kind of talk about what is that life like for a 7-year-old to 4-week-old? Well, we have to kind of go back because I'm sure a lot of us don't remember what was it like when we were 5 years old. But what that is like is that their world is different than yours and I's. Their world is very much reliant on their senses to navigate, communicate, experience everything. I mean, think about this, right? How did we all learn how to initially walk, talk, feed ourselves? We didn't pick up a book and read it. I mean, that would be great if children could do that, but that's not the case. We teach them those things. So they watch, they listen, they mimic with tactile kinds of things, right? And they eventually learn how to do it on their own. So we have to say, well, since someone living with dementia is experiencing the world like that, wouldn't sensory stimulation make the most sense? Bing, 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 bing. Yes, it would. So that's another pillar in the dementia connection model. That's the tool we're going to use is positive sensory stimulation. Okay. Now, why is that? Why is sensory stimulation so powerful for any human? It's because when we take in information through our senses, it actually ignites our limbic system. This is that physiology part I was referring to. The limbic system of our brain has two important organs. One is our amygdala, which helps generate emotions, and our hippocampus, which generates a memory. So when any stimuli comes in, it actually ignites our mood and our memory, either in a negative or positive way, depending on how we perceive that stimuli. And then the psychological part of it is that once our emotions are ignited, it actually influences how we act, our behaviors. Okay. And so when we think about people with dementia, we want to try and either remember what works for them or create and trial positive stimuli, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're tasting, touching, smelling. We want to ignite those and bring them into the caregiving experience so they feel positive emotions, positive memories of that event and with you, okay? Which then psychologically will ignite their behaviors or positive, productive behaviors, okay? Whatever that might be for that person, whether that's they want to feel calm or they want to feel excited, things like that. And why psychologically, just to kind of stop for a moment there, is because if you're familiar with cognitive behavioral theory, right? Cognitive behavioral theory says that what we think influences our feelings and our feelings influence our behaviors, right? So that's the psychological side of it. So the third pillar is habilitation. And what that simply means is we're going to do the sensory stimulation thing over and over and over and over again, and we're going to schedule it, okay? There's a discussion in our industry talking about social prescription, okay? Who has heard of that? If you've heard that, throw it in the chat box, because social prescription is really about prescribing social kinds of tools, right? Interactive social kinds of tools rather than necessarily only medication, right? And so with habilitation, what we're going to do is we're going to schedule these tools throughout the day so we can reinforce the skills that the person living with dementia still has, because you may have heard consistency is key with dementia, right? Very similarly to how children really operate really well too. And so we're going to do this over and over so we can reinforce the skills and habilitate that person so that way they can be as independent as they can be for as long as possible, right? So that's the dementia connection model. We're going to remember what works for someone because they're progressing towards a younger state, which is sensory stimulation. So we're going to use that sensory stimulation to have a physiological and psychological reaction. And we're going to do this over and over again with habilitation, right? We want to reinforce those skills. So we're going to set this up in a structured manner, right, every day. So the one sense I want to focus on for my time remaining is olfactory stimulation. Olfactory stimulation is probably the most powerful stimulation you can use out of all five senses. The reason being is because think about how our limbic system works. Essentially what it is, it's actually a direct line from our nasal passage to our limbic system, because the olfactory bulb sits at the base of our limbic system, right? So I'm kind of give you a little visual here. Here's our olfactory bulb. It's like a little curve, and our limbic system is right here, right? So there's an almost immediate effect when we smell something, okay? Because it can work within seconds, okay? So with other stimuli, it's still very effective. It goes to another part of our brain first, and then eventually goes to our limbic system. So it's a little bit longer, maybe more of a minute, right? There's not a huge difference, but olfactory can be very important because you may have known through the years that, we attribute certain smells with experiences, whether, again, good or bad. And it sticks with us for the rest of our life. We might smell something now that reminds us of something 20 years ago, right? And so it just is a really powerful sense, right? So with olfactory, as I mentioned, we take in information through our nasal passage and ignites that limbic system of the brain, which then influences our behaviors, right? So we want to think of what are some good things that the people we care for, what do they love to smell? Is that flowers? Is that fresh brewed coffee? Is that fresh baked bread? Those kinds of things that can really ignite some positive feelings. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, don't people with dementia usually lose their sense of smell? The answer is yes. A lot of them do. Not everybody, but a lot of them do. Especially, more specifically in Alzheimer's dementia. So we talk about, well, we can try to exercise their sense of smell so that way they decrease the chances of losing it, right? And that's where I would highly recommend there being some kind of therapeutic aspect to this, where you're working in every day their ability to smell something and identify it. So you could put pungent items in jars for them to identify and smell, or have an activity around it. You can do baking and cooking, have them identify different spices that they smell, things like that, just to exercise it. Just like we should exercise our brain by doing brain games, or we should go to the gym and exercise our muscles so we remain strong and sturdy, right? So we should exercise our sense of smell too before they lose it. Now, if they did lose it, okay, the main olfactory tool that you can use is essential oils. Okay. Now, you may have heard aromatherapy and dementia care, and a lot of people are kind of getting on the bandwagon with it, which is fantastic to see. But I want to educate you a little bit about why using essential oils. Why is it effective if they can't smell? The reason being is because when essential oils are diffused into the air, they break down into very small particles. It's the only known substance that can cross the blood-brain barrier and have an impact on that limbic system, which is what we want, right? Because we want that physiological and that psychological reaction. So regardless if they can tell if it's a lavender, if it's a rosemary, if it's a cedarwood, it doesn't matter, because it's still going to impact their brain in a positive way. Because there are specific oils that have been tested in research that show a positive remark on certain symptoms of dementia. There are a plethora of articles out there that indicate this. And I'm going to go over a few before we end. So what happens is when we smell in an essential oil, it is actually impacting our blood-brain barrier and crossing the blood-brain barrier, going into our limbic system and having a positive influence in our brain. Now, if they can still smell and you're using essential oils, do have them test it out. Like put the bottle underneath their nose to see if they like it. And you can tell they might have a scowl on their face. They might decide they don't like that. Then don't use that, because they're going to start attributing that smell with a bad thing. So then you want to use smells that they do like. But again, if they can't smell, it doesn't matter. You're going to just look at the therapeutic benefit to say, I'm going to go ahead and use this oil. So let me just back up. If they can smell and they don't like it, there is another oil that does the same thing that you can use that may have a more positive effect. So for example, maybe you go and they can still smell, and you have them smell lemon, and maybe they don't like that sense of smell for lemon. So with that said, what you might do then is choose a different citrus. Maybe they like wild orange better. Okay. So it does the same thing. It increases appetite, it boosts mood. And so with that said, you can just switch the oil, and there's always another oil that can do the same thing. So, but let me get back to if they can't smell. Again, there are certain oils that can help ignite that limbic system, right? So when we talk about essential oil use, let me just talk a little bit about what is an essential oil. Briefly, what it is, it's actually when you smell a flower, or you can smell kind of herbs in your garden. That's the actual oil you're smelling. And how they get that out is they actually steam distill, or they extract it from the plant or tree itself. And then from there, it should be bottled. Okay. And so when I say should be, everyone has a different process, but it should be filtered and bottled at that point, so it stays 100% pure. How it works, as I mentioned, is as you're breathing it in, that it crosses that blood-brain barrier and ignites that limbic system. So that's how that works. Okay. Now, what are ways that you can use it? Because safety is really important, because, some people will say, well, essential oils, because they're natural, they can't hurt you. That's not true at all. There are some natural substances on the earth that can hurt us, right? I mean, who's walked through poison ivy, right? And then, now you're itching and scratching and all these kinds of things, right? Nobody wants to be attacked by poison ivy, but it's a natural substance that comes from a plant, right? So we need to be cautious. You should work with someone who knows what they're doing in aromatherapy and who has the expertise. So you make sure that when you're using them with your loved ones or the residents you care for, that you are truly being able to do that in an effective way that's safe. Okay. So ways that you can use them, I'm just going to talk about two ways today. One is aromatically smelling it in, and another is topically. when you're doing it aromatically, you can diffuse with a regular diffuser, which you can get really anywhere. You want to fill the water to the line. You put about 4 or 5 drops of the oil in the water, and then you turn it on. It's really that simple. When you fill the diffuser, please make sure you're using either filtered or bottled water, because I think we all know that there's an allowable level of metals in our tap water, and we don't want that hitching a ride into our brain, right? We don't want that toxicity. So it's important we use clean water in our diffuser. We also at the Institute, we created an invention called personal diffuser dots, where it's sticky on one side, it's felt on the other. And on the felt side, you put about 4 or 5 drops, and you put it on the lapel of the person or the nightgown or collar, and they can walk around and have a personal diffuser all day, which is great. So they don't have to stay in the room where the diffuser is. They can use it if you guys are going on an outing, or if they're going from room to room, or this person wanders a lot, they can use the diffuser at any time. And what's great is at about 6 to 8 hours, you peel it off, throw it in the garbage, you can put another one on. So you only need about 2 or 3 throughout the day. And then, like I said, you can use it at night too and have them on their nightgown, which is wonderful. Also, people use, diffuser jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, things like that too, which you can use. So just make sure it's a diffuser jewelry, because you can't put oils on any kind of jewelry. Okay. Now let's talk about topical use. So if you're going to use it topically, you still want to do it around the neck area, around pulse points, so they can still smell it in. Okay. Because again, aromatic is the best in terms of helping the brain. So when we use topical, what you want to do is make sure that you dilute your essential oil. What I mean by that is you're going to use a carrier oil with the essential oil. You're going to mix it together in the palm of your hand. Okay. The palm of our hand has much more padding than, of course, the other side of our skin and things like that. The reason you want to dilute is because as we get older, our skin thins. And so it's very sensitive for our elderly. We want to make sure that we're not causing any kind of extensive reactions, because essential oils can be very powerful. So what you want to do is you can use a vitamin E oil, fractionated coconut oil, jojoba oil, whichever you choose. I like fractionated coconut oil because it doesn't stain like on clothes and things like that. So, and what you're going to do is you're going to mix with a 10-to-1 ratio. 10 drops of your carrier oil. You can see my hands here. 10 drops of your carrier oil, 1 drop of your essential oil. And I know that sounds like a high dilution, but with our vintage, we want to make sure that we're diluting very well. When we come to you and I, we can do more of a 50-50. But with children and with elderly, we always say a 10-to-1 ratio. Okay, so mix it really good. And then you're going to apply it to your pulse point areas. So here at the neck, or you can actually put it on your wrist, like we would any kind of perfume or cologne or something like that. I actually use essential oils as my perfume instead of actual perfume, because there's a lot of toxins in perfume. So kind of swapping out those kind of carcinogens and trying to use something more healthfully, right? So with that said, you can use it topically too, all right? Now, when it comes to the essential oils, let's talk a little bit about, with the time I have remaining, real quick, what are oils we can use? So we recommend, I'm going to talk about 3 oils. In the morning, we recommend a peppermint essential oil because it's very invigorating. So it allows those nasal passages to open up. It brings more oxygen to the brain. It gets the person stimulated for the day, which is what you want in dementia care. You want them to get up, get energized, get ready for the day so they can be engaged. And, if they're in any therapies, if they're, to exercise, anything like that, you want to do all of that high energy stuff in the morning. And then peppermint's going to help with that. And then there's other kinds of mints if they don't respond well to peppermint for some reason, again, if they can still smell. Another oil you can mix with that in the morning is a citrus oil. So any citrus oil, which I mentioned before, increases appetite and boosts mood. A happy, hungry resident or person with dementia is the best recipe because you want them to eat and nourish themselves, and you want them to be happy throughout the day, right? And what's great about essential oils is they actually restore the body back to its natural balance. So if they don't necessarily need to be happy, but they need to be calm, the essential oil is going to help them with that because it does have a positive impact on mood. Citruses do, right? So blending those two together is going to be great. Throughout the day, you really want to you want to diffuse that citrus oil. Okay. So you want to keep that mood up. You want to keep that appetite going so they nourish themselves, so they don't necessarily decrease their appetite. Okay. And so from there, towards like the early afternoon, early evening, depending on if your individual sundowns, you want to start diffusing lavender about 30 minutes prior. Okay, so the room fills, or they get used to it on their personal diffuser dot or jewelry, something like that. Okay. You want to diffuse that lavender, and you can actually diffuse it all through the evening. Actually, when they're sleeping, if they do have sleep issues, which is very common as the disease progresses, you can diffuse that throughout the evening as they're sleeping. They can have a nice, restful, nice sleep. They get up the next day and they're energized and ready to go again with that peppermint. This is really the best recipe. We call this the perfect day within the Dementia Connection model. You're setting them up for success by intentionally using essential oils to create this day where they're able to effectively move throughout the day. Now, what I found with the Dementia Connection model in my research is that not only does it have that immediate effect within seconds, but also about after 4 weeks, if you consistently use the same oils every day, they will actually identify that smell. If they can still smell, they can identify that smell to know, oh, it's peppermint. It must be morning time. Oh, and I should be doing this. It's citrus. Oh, it's time to eat, or it's time to play, have fun, right? Lavender, it's time to calm down. They will start to learn that because they're learning from their senses now. They're not learning from textbooks or factual information. So about 4 weeks, if they can still smell, they will be able to learn that and be more productive. Again, another gift you can give someone with dementia is this perfect day. And that's where rehabilitation comes in, right? Because you are consistently using the same oils for the same purpose every day, and they're able to become more independent, right? That is fantastic. And so I want to just close with that to say, thank you, Cheryl, for having me. I hope this was helpful in learning about the Dementia Connection model, how to use specifically olfactory stimulation. And we have a lot more to teach about all the other senses of how this can really help benefit not only the person you're caring for, because they win with this, but you win as the caregiver, because you now have tools you can use, which will build your confidence and your competence in caregiving, which overall everyone wins. It's a win-win. And you can certainly learn more about that in my book. So hopefully you can visit us at our institute, dementiaconnectioninstitute.org. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me again. This is always so much fun. I think Cheryl will come back on here. There she is.
Do not fear. Sherelle is here. Sherelle is here, baby. She's here. She's here. And so, Dr. Shelter, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you. We're connected now.
Thank you.
Those essential oils, I'm telling you right now, people, if you don't use them, you need to start. And you don't even have to have dementia. Okay?
Right.
Just get the
Anybody
essential
can use
oils.
them.
Now, I have a question for you, Dr. Stelter, while you're still on the stage.
Yes.
Anyone can use them. And then what grade or what, well, you're not promoting any brand, but what would you prefer that we use? You mentioned something about 100% something.
Yeah. So we want to make sure when you're looking at oils, we always say avoid any oils that you would buy in the supermarket. So oils you would buy off the shelf, because unfortunately what happens is a lot of oils on the market are contaminated because they're brokered, is what that means, is the brokers will take the oils, they will add other things to them so they can sell it to you much more cheaper. But again, sometimes it's a little bit better to pay for things that are quality. So a lot of the oils that are on shelves in the markets are contaminated with other fillers, so they can sell it to you very cheaply for $2 or $3 a bottle. And that's not going to give you the effect you're looking for. If anything, it actually might give you the inverse effect. It may create more negative experiences because you're contaminating the brain with those things. So you want to find oils where they say that they actually grow their oils and take their oils from their lands indigenous, meaning where they actually grow them, right? So there are no essential oils grown in the United States. They're all grown in other countries. So if they say, oh, this was grown in Chicago, Illinois, I'll just pick on Chicago because that's where I live. then just stay away from that oil. That's not going to be a healthy oil for you. You're not going to get the therapeutic benefit you're looking for. So make sure you go to the locations where they say, yes, we get our oils from Somalia or from China or from here or there, right? That's where they get their oils, and then they're bottled right away, right? They're filtered and bottled. And filtered means that they just clean it up a little bit, right? So I would encourage you, visit the Aromatic Plant and Research Center, APRC. They are a third-party tester that tests oils. So there are certain companies that actually pay APRC to say, test our oils, make sure they're 100% pure. So when we put them to market and we say that we truly mean that. And so check out the APRC website and look to see which companies they work with, because that, you're going to get quality oils that really you can use. And I've used oils with a lot of my patients. I use a lot of oils with myself, my kids, my husband uses them. So I practice what I preach with this, and in trying to live a more holistic life and making sure that the people we serve also are experiencing that too. And having another tool besides just medication to help with some of the symptoms of dementia.
Wow. Thank you. So Dr. Stelter, I mean, it's just so much information. It really is. And so she just gave you some information, essential oils, right? Because everything that looks good to you is not good for you.
Yes.
So if you're in that holistic wellness arena and you want the best for your body and your family's body, connect with this site, aprc.com. So I'm definitely going to connect with them, and I'm going to stay connected with Dr. Jennifer Stelter, because she is the essential oil queen so far that I have met. So I'm going to continue to connect with you, Dr. Jennifer Stelter, and stick around, because I want you all to give one successful key to each caregiver that's listening now and for later. Thank you so much, Dr. Stelter. It's always great seeing you, and it's always great hearing what's going on in the essential oil arena.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Okay, there you have it, the essential oils. You know what? And Dr. Stelter also said something too. The perfumes are good to use, because that's what we have been accustomed to using. Different perfumes, but I have found out for me that oils, what do? They last longer and they smell better, because once they get into your system and your body, you really can feel and smell the beautification of the oils. And oils are better for us anyway. It's just, I know it's a perfume world or perfume world and all of that, but when you talk about the toxicity of what we're taking in, we don't need no extra toxins in our body. And I know perfumes, they look good, they smell good, but sometimes it's good to change, because guess what? Our body changes over the years. As we age, our body takes on a different, if you will, chemistry, body scent and everything. So definitely get the right oil that works for you. I know for me, I cannot do the lavender. I'm allergic to lavender. I cannot do it. I know I'm always upbeat. That citrus will work for me, but I do need an oil to kind of like calm me down at night. So I would get with Dr. Jennifer on that. So, but lavender is good, but there's something about that lavender, baby. I can't get with that lavender, but that's me. So with that being said, choose the one that's right for you. Get with Dr. Jennifer Stelter, Tracy Lamb, all of our other speakers that came forth earlier, Monica Stewart, Maida Skeet, and a couple of other ones, Dr. Patricia Goodman. Connect with the speakers that came forth. Now, what I would like for you to do, I want you all to be engaging. I want you all to comment and put in the chat, what are you getting from this conference? You've been here since 9 o'clock this morning. What have you learned so far? And choose, it may have been one caregiver that said something to you. It may have been two. It may have been everyone. Even you as the speakers, go on the Global Caregiver Speakers Facebook page and put in the comment, in the chat, what have you learned so far? And who you would like to connect with, because we have more speakers coming throughout today and tomorrow, which is day 2. So connect with the speakers and put in the chat what you have learned and what you would love to, or who you would love to connect with. And so with that being said, we're going to keep it going. We have a couple of more speakers. We right at the 11 o'clock mark. We have the wonderful David Nazanin. Come on up to the stage, Dave Nazanin. Dave Nazanin is our male caregiver. He is brave.
Yes,
Dave.
Dave
Dave
Nassani
is our
is here
brave
on the
male
stage.
caregiver. There you go, Nassani. I'm gonna get that name right.
Perfect.
Now I say Nazanin, you say Nazanin, Nassani.
You say
Okay,
tomato, I
so
say
Dave is
tomato.
our wonderful. That part right there, Dave. Thank you so much, because it's all the same, and just get it right when you write that check. Okay, thank you. What they say, spell it right when you write the check out. But anyway, Dave is our wonderful male caregiver that he's gonna come share with us avoiding pitfalls for spousal caregiving. But let me share something with you about the wonderful Dave, caregiver Dave. Oh my goodness, it is so much. Dave is a speaker, syndicated radio host, life coach, and best-selling author of It's My Life to Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity. That's a good one. However, his most important role is caregiving to his lovely wife, Charlene, who suffered a massive stroke in 1996 that left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on her right side. Dave has recently appeared in 35 network morning shows from Washington, D.C. to Honolulu to Hawaii. He spoke and shared the stage with Suzanne Summers at Harvard. And unfortunately, Suzanne Summers had recently passed away. Yes. Wow. She also shared the stage with Martha Stewart and Ice-T at the Carnegie Hall, Dr. Drew, Dr. Mark Siegel, Surgeon General Dr. Jocelyn Elders, and Evander Holyfield at CNN Center headquarters. In addition, he's a NASCAR, West Point, TEDx, Newark Bar, Mercedes, Coca-Cola, and many more. Caregiver Dave, is not new to the speaking arena. His membership website, you can go catch him on caregiversdave.com. He teaches caregivers how to not only survive, but to thrive with practical advice and tools to help them. Dave, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to let you share your story, your way, with avoiding the pitfalls of spousal caregiving. Thank you so much, Dave. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Sherelle, for this group, for this event, for this conference. You are amazing, and you're the brave one. And, I became a caregiver 27 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scratching my head saying, how did this happen? 27 years ago, my beautiful wife, Charlene, and I had a fairy tale. Actually, 49 years ago, we've been together that long. We had a fairy tale, storybook, courtship, romance, and marriage. And we entered into the empty nest phase of life. We had raised 3 daughters. We got them all out of the house. That's an accomplishment. We even got them all married off, each one twice. And to not be outdone, the baby 3 times. So I am so happy that I marched her down the aisle for the 3rd time. And this time it's going to stick, because this is the first one that I actually approved of. You see, the other 2, kids don't listen to their parents. I don't know why, but they finally learn how to do that. So we were getting into the empty nest phase of life, and we had freedom, we had financial success, we had time, and my wife complains to me about this headache that she had for like 3 days, the headache of her life. She wanted me to call Dr. Kevorkian, if you remember him from the 70s, and to put her out of her misery. She was joking, of course, but unfortunately, by the fourth day, it was too late. The headache had turned into a stroke, and we rushed her to the hospital. And unfortunately, she had lost her speech. She had become paralyzed on one side. And I got to tell you, our life became a living hell for both of us. It turned upside down. I didn't know what I was going to do. Charlene was angry and bitter most of the time, and mostly toward me. And I wasn't prepared for that. I'm a peacemaker. I like peace. And finally, I just realized I can't go on like this. So I did what I do when I feel frustrated like that. I wrote her a letter. I said, Charlene, why are you so mean to me? It's so hard being your husband, taking care of you 24/7, and being your caregiver and not getting any crumbs of appreciation or love in return. I just don't think I can be with you. I know it's hard on you, but you're making it even harder on me to be your caregiver and your husband. I mean, I'll take care of you financially, but I just can't be with you. I took that letter that I wrote and I read it over and over and over again. And I says, how can I give this to my soulmate, to the woman I love for 49 years, or actually it was 27 years at that time, to the mother of my children? I couldn't do it. So I just filed it away in my filing cabinet, went on in my misery and my loneliness, my aloneness. And I thought that this was how life was going to be. But then something happened. I realized I found this business card in my pocket. I don't know what it was or who gave it to me. It must have been when I was living in the hospital for 6 weeks with my wife. It was inviting me to a caregiver support group. I didn't even know what a caregiver was, let alone a support group. But I figured, well, if somebody gave this to me, maybe I should go. So I went. And that's when everything changed for me. I found out that I had to put my needs first. The airlines tell us, in the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before, you help your loved one with their mask. And so I had permission now to be what I thought was a selfish act. So I just started taking care of me so I could take care of her. And slowly but surely, very slowly, she started responding. She started realizing that, hey, he's happy. I can't make him miserable. So she started coming around. She started becoming her old self again. And our love was rekindled. And I realized at that time that there are so many other caregivers out there, just like me, who were alone and isolated and depressed and lonely. And I didn't want him to do that. I didn't want him to give up like I almost gave up. My wife and I almost split up. Thank God we didn't. Thank God she came around. And I'm so grateful that nobody told me back then that 27 years later, I'd still be dealing with this. I don't think I could have handled that. I'm on a need to know basis, So it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. Don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. That's what the Bible says. Well, I realized I wanted to help these caregivers. So I became Dave, the caregiver's caregiver, caregiver to caregivers. And so I wrote a book. One arm, one leg, 100 words, overcoming unbelievable hardships. And this is my story about us and what we went through. And it was a great book. Sold a lot of copies. And in fact, we offer this book, this ebook now, free to anyone who goes to caregiverdave.com and looks for it. We have free things on there. The book is one of them. We also offer a 30-minute free counseling session because, sometimes 30 minutes of wisdom is all you need to get over a hard spot. So again, go to caregiverdave.com. That's one of the things I did to help other caregivers, like an online community support. It's got the radio show. I started a radio show for caregivers, Caregiver Dave radio show. It then became syndicated in all 50 states and 135 countries. And I've been doing the radio show for over 10 years. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of guests, caregiver experts, caregivers themselves. Excuse me. What else did I do? I wrote 2 more books. I wrote It's My Life Too, How to Thrive and Survive as a Caregiver. I wrote Secrets from the Hammock. It's hard to see these books on here, but Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. So these are the things that I've been doing to try to help caregivers not just survive caregiving, but to thrive. Now, there are other things that I've been doing. I started speaking all across the country on stages, as Sherelle mentioned, the wonderful stages that I've spoken to. I've been to Hawaii, to Washington, D.C., and everywhere in between. I've appeared on 59 TV programs, morning shows, just helping caregivers realize that, they don't have to die, because 30% of caregivers will actually die. 3 out of 10 caregivers are just going to die before their loved one dies. If you're caring for a dementia patient, those odds go way up to 40%, 4 out of 10. And for the lucky ones who don't die, and I put lucky in quotes, they will just become sicker than the ones they care for and eventually need a caregiver of their own. So I don't know, choose your poison. I've got to tell you that I have started a Facebook page, 34,000 followers on my Facebook page, and I hear all their stories. And I'm telling you, they're heartbreaking. I mean, my story might seem heartbreaking to you. I'm this poor guy, he lost his wife, she can't talk, she can't communicate. But today she's doing okay. She still can't talk and she still can't walk, but she can communicate non-verbally because she has aphasia through she communicates through Pictionary and charades. They just happen to be 2 games that I really hate and I suck at, but I'm learning to love. And then, she still can't walk, but she has this power wheelchair that we bought her that goes faster than me. I mean, I can't keep up with her. And we literally travel the world sharing my story, sharing her story. People just love her. I mean, she's an amazing person. She still does my meals. She's a gourmet cook. I mean, it's hard not to get fat eating her food because she just makes amazing, amazing dishes. I come home, the laundry's done, the food's on the table, and I look around and I say, where are the elves that helped you do all of this? And, I'm always yelling at her, don't, she's got things in her mouth when she's carrying things. She's got things under this arm because this arm doesn't work. She's steering her wheelchair with her wrist. And I says, that's dangerous. Don't do that. Ask me, I'm here. But she's so independent. When I was, this was right after her stroke, and she just came home from the hospital, 6 weeks in the hospital. And we fortunately had her mother come and live with us to help out. And help is really good when this happens in the beginning. But her mother and I were very different. Her mother was, oh, here, honey, let me get that for you. Oh, here, I'll do the cooking. Oh, here, let me do everything. And I'm like, no, like if she's reaching for something on the top shelf, I'll say, come on, you can do it. Go on your toes. Here, I'll push you a little bit. It's almost there. And her mother would think I was mean and cruel because her mother said, oh, let me get that for you. But the occupational therapist told us both, no, my method is better because I'm raising someone who is going to be independent, and she would be raising someone who would become bedridden. You have to let your care receiver do what they want to do. She wanted to cook, so I let her cook. She wanted to, travel. So I said, okay, and it turns out that it's easier to travel with her in the airports because I get to put all the luggage on the back of her wheelchair and they take us to the front of the line. When we go to Disneyland, we go to the front of the line. I love traveling with her because it's so much easier. So see there's a silver lining on the clouds. Anyway, I have come up with a acronym, CARE, C-A-R-E, to help caregivers some tips to survive, not just survive, but to thrive. So C, communicate with others. Don't isolate yourself. right? Caregivers are always saying, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I don't want people to see me in this needy condition. So I'm just going to isolate myself. All of your friends, that you used to do things with, they don't come around anymore because all you do when they call or come by is complain about how hard things are. Well, nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. Don't isolate yourself. If you have friends that you used to go to the gym with, continue those relationships. And don't talk about your caregiving experience. Save that for your support group. Other caregivers who are going through the same things you're going through. That way you can vent to them, they can vent to you. You can tell them, what a terrible day you had. They'll tell you what a terrible day they had, and you both go home feeling better. But to your friend that you go to the gym with or you go to the movie with, continue doing that. Don't isolate yourself. Ask for help. Like I told you before, the airlines tell you to do it. If you don't help yourself, you're going to burn out. If you don't put your mask on first, then that plane's going down, and you're both going to be out of commission. So I am the caregiver, and I had trouble asking for help. People would say, "Hey, do you need anything?" And I say, "No, I got it. It's okay." And they say, "You sure?" "Oh, yeah. Why did I do that? I don't know. I didn't want to be indebted to anybody. I didn't want them to feel like I couldn't do this. I'm a macho man. I'm an auto mechanic. Something's broken. I can fix it, and I'm going to fix this. I can do it myself." It's like the 2-year-old. No, do it myself. Do it myself. Well, I'm not a 2-year-old, but I was acting like a 2-year-old. So when I went to that support group, which I recommend everybody find a support group. If you can't find a real one, then find a virtual one. And like I said, Caregiver Dave is a great place. There are many other good support groups to get. And they will give you permission to, I know it seems selfish at the time. I did a TED Talk called Caregivers Must Be Selfish in order to survive. Just Google Dave Nassani or Caregiver Dave and TEDx, and you'll see it. And it's a great talk. And it gives you permission to be selfish. Selfish is a dirty word. We were taught, don't be selfish, but that doesn't apply to caregivers. It's okay for a caregiver to be selfish because they are so selfless that, if they just move the pendulum a little toward the selfish. See, it's impossible for them to be really selfish, but they're so selfless. We're hoping that they just balance and be, enough selfish so that they don't kill themselves, and not too selfless. So balance is everything like that. So what do I do? Oh, I've got to continue my acronym. I'm sorry. CAR, rest. Caregivers need 8 hours rest every single night. The average caregiver only gets 2. I don't know about you. I can't survive on 2 hours of rest. I can't survive on 7 hours. I need my full 8 hours. And if I miss it, I got to make it up the next day. Sleep 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours. It seems like you're tired all the time if you don't get your full 8 hours. So that means if your care receiver is causing you to not get your sleep, hey, maybe it's time to consider a facility. Now nobody likes to hear that. You made promises to your dad, maybe never put your mother in a nursing home. I promise, Dad. Well, that promise might kill you. So here's what's let's say your loved one needs to be turned over every 2 hours so she doesn't get bed sores, and you're getting up every 2 hours. You can't get back to sleep. It's time for a facility. Find a good one. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Most of them I wouldn't put my cat in, but if you look hard and you ask for referrals, you can find a good one. So here's what you do. You go and you say, I know I promised Dad, or I promised you I'd never put you in a nursing home, but I'm realizing that promise is going to kill me. You don't want me to die, do you? No. You don't want me to get sicker than you? No. Well, here, I'm going to make you a new promise. I promise to give you the best care possible. And so that's how you get out of that one. All right. CARE. Eat healthy, nutritious foods. Don't eat junk food. Junk food's got sugar, chemicals, processed ingredients. All that stuff will kill you. So eat healthy food. Eat salads. Eat your protein. Eat all the food groups. And that's what I say. CARE, if you can remember that, that will keep you alive. It will keep you thriving. Now, there are other things called the grief process, right? And what that is, when anytime we suffer loss, we go through the grief process. So what does that mean? That means, okay, let's say your girlfriend just dumped you. Oh, you know, you have denial. Well, this didn't really happen. Well, yes, it did happen. Excuse me. Then you get angry because it happened. You're angry at yourself. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have gone out with that other girl or whatever. Uh, maybe you're angry at the person who told her that you were going out with it, whatever. And then you get to bargaining. Well, can't we still be friends? And then there's guilt, and then there's depression, there's acceptance. So what do you want to do? Don't stay in denial, because then you'll become delusional. You don't want that. So you move on to anger, and it's okay to feel anger, but don't let that anger dwell, right? Even Jesus had righteous indignation when he saw the people in the thing. My Father's house is to be a house of prayer, and he turned over the tables and all that stuff. But don't let your anger be a damaging anger. If it was your fault that it happened, forgive yourself. Forgiveness is a wonderful thing. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. So you don't want to do that. Unforgiveness will never reach the person who you're angry at and you're trying to hurt. It'll only hurt you. It'll rot your bones. It'll give you ulcers. It'll give you cancer. So please forgive and move on. I was blessed with a not great memory. And the good thing about that is that I can't remember people who wronged me. A lot of times people come up, hey, I'm sorry for what I did, 2 months ago. And I says, what do you mean? What'd you do? Because I forgot, and that's good. That's a good thing. Bargaining. Sometimes if someone dies, that's kind of hard to bargain away. But, sometimes we bargain. God, if you just, bring her back, or if she's sick, if you just heal her, I promise to go to church every Sunday, whatever, And if bargaining doesn't work, then we go to guilt. You feel guilty for all the things you did. Well, I already told you, get rid of the guilt. There's two kinds of guilt. There's deserved guilt and undeserved guilt. And if it's deserved guilt, if you deserve it, then apologize, make restitution, turn yourself into the police, do whatever you need to do, and then throw the guilt away. If it's undeserved guilt, like a lot of mothers make you feel guilty, well, you never called, I could be laying on the floor in my own urine, blah, blah, blah. And some people just like to dispense guilt on people. Guilt is like a traffic cop. It says, hey, do I deserve to feel guilty or not? Well, if you don't deserve it, and you can ask somebody, excuse me, you can ask somebody, hey, do I deserve this? And if they confirm, no, you don't deserve that, they're crazy, then just ignore the guilt and throw it away, because that's the way it works. The next stage is depression. Well, if depression gets pretty serious, like clinical depression, ask your doctor for antidepressants. Now, some people don't like it. No, I don't want any drugs. I don't want to feel high. No, they won't make you feel high. It's not like a recreational drug. Antidepressant is something good that will restore the natural chemical balance in your brain. When my wife first had a stroke, because she was never depressed, but all of a sudden, it messed up the things in her brain, and she needed Zoloft to just take the edge off things. And even now, when the prescription gets low, or we miss a couple of days, you can just tell she's getting real edgy. Things, the smallest little things irritate her. I say, oh, it's time to refill your antidepressant. So please see your doctor. And if you tried it and didn't work, well, then try a different one. And if that didn't work, then try a different dosage. You got to keep trying. This process could take 2, 3, 4, 6 months, but it's worth it to find the right antidepressant for you. And then there's that wonderful and final stage of grief, acceptance. It's where you accept the new normal, where I had to accept that maybe my wife will be like this the rest of her life, and that's okay. We are people of faith. We believe in healing, and we've been believing that she becomes healed, that she gets her speech back and her paralysis back, and we're going to continue believing that. And if it doesn't happen, we're okay with that, because God is sovereign. He does what he wants. And all these trials are tailor-made for us. We have become so much better people because of this experience. And we're grateful for that. We're grateful that all things work for good to them that love him and that are called according to his purpose. So acceptance, if you don't reach acceptance, you're going to be stuck in that grief process. And you have to go through the grief process. Can't go around it, over it, under it. You got to go through it. So go ahead and go through these things. It's normal. Now, what else? I have got a caregiver retreat and vacation that is scheduled for June. Go to acapulcodave.com. I have this group called Academy of Caregivers. It's scheduled in Acapulco, and now Acapulco was just destroyed with a Category 5 hurricane, but hopefully it'll be rebuilt by June. So just go to the website, acapulcodave.com, and you'll learn all about my retreat. It's a wonderful, wonderful retreat, vacation, fellowshipping with other caregivers in paradise. I also have my books. Like it says, it's my life too. Thrive and Stay Alive as a caregiver. One arm, one leg, 100 words, overcoming unbelievable hardships. And this one is Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. Go to caregiverdave.com. Get your free stuff. I'm offering free 30-minute coaching session because, like I said, it only takes 30 minutes a lot of times to get over something that you're struggling with, that is keeping you up at night and so on. What else do I offer? I offer so much stuff. There's videos on there. There's my radio show on there. Every Wednesday, I publish my radio show. It gets put on Facebook and 26 other global platforms all over the country, all over the world. So look up caregiverdave.com or just look up Caregiver Dave, Google it. And I think that's all I've got, Sherelle. I think I've covered everything. What do you think? There's a 5-second delay. That's why this happens. She's coming. She's coming. She's almost here. I can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Now it takes 5 seconds for her to hear that. There she is. I heard her chuckle.
Listen, do not fear. Sherelle is here. Do not fear. I'm here, baby. I'm here. And so, Dave was so wonderful, so well expressed and needed, right? To take care of your spouse since 1996. I heard you say something. You was not expecting it. It just came to you and you was thrust into it, right?
Yep.
Is that you was thrust into taking care of your wife. It was nothing expected. And so it happened. And guess what? A lot of people since the COVID has been in that same predicament.
Yeah. That's
they
right.
was not expecting it. It was something that happened. And now they're caregivers.
Yes,
So
I
we can
believe
add
you are
more
either
caregivers to
going
that
to
53
become a
million
caregiver,
unpaid caregivers because
you're either going to become a caregiver or you're going to need a caregiver. Everyone is going to have
you're
to
going to
go
be
through
a
this,
caregiver.
or you're going to need a caregiver. And so now is the time to learn how to be a caregiver. Not after tragedy strikes, or you'll be scratching your head and saying, oh my God, I was drafted into the army, you were drafted into caregiver. It's like being handcuffed in caregiver prison. Remember that show, Sanford and Son, where they used to, father used to guilt his son by saying, oh, it's a big one. No, son, really, it's a big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming for you, honey. Don't let anybody guilt you into doing anything. You have to take care of yourself.
And that is a good word to leave on because you have to take care of yourself. Prioritize yourself as number one. And Dave, your acronym, the CARE, is absolutely great because that's what we need to be doing is to care for ourselves so that we can care for others. Okay, Dave, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story. Keep being the best caregiver ever. Yes, Thank you so much. And tell Miss Charlene we say hello and we love her. Stick around because I want everyone to give some words of encouragement to caregivers in a moment. Thank you so much, Dave.
CaregiverDave.com.
There you have it. So listen, everyone, put your information in the chat. I'm looking at the chat as I'm actually going through, as I'm listening to you all at the same time. I'm chatting with the audience. Go over to the Facebook Global Caregivers Speakers. That's where we over there chatting over there. And give, excuse me, give Lord. She was following Dave. So yeah, go over there. That's where we over there chatting at. They're having a good time over there. I know I am because I'm over there chatting with the people. So yes, put in the chat your website. How do the people get in contact with you? What's going on with you? This is the main site right here, Global Caregiver Speakers, or whatever platform you use for your tribe to follow. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to continue this conversation. Next coming to the stage is the wonderful Laura. Laura, let me bring Laura up to the stage.
Hi, Sherelle.
Hi, Laura. Good morning. It's still morning. Yes.
It sure is.
Doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be a wonderful day. It's a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us, Laura. So Laura is wonderful. Laura says what? Dementia is just like me. That's going to be her topic today. But let me share some about Laura. Laura is and has been a dementia care professional for over 25 years. In her roles ranging from a direct caregiver to a facilitator, administrator. She has spent a lifetime learning about mental, emotional health, behavioral communication in dementia, leading a team of caregivers, raising children, and caregiver burnout. We all can relate to this caregiver burnout, okay? We've been there and we still moving with it. And so Laura is in this space of dementia. She have developed, like she said, what is that? It's called CBI or CBD. What's the name of that? CBD, communication behavior techniques. This is what Laura is going to talk about today. She can enable professionals and family caregivers to better understand their cares, needs, and help them feel and function at their best. So, Laura, I'm going to let you tell your story your way. Thank you so much. Take it away, Laura.
Thank you, Sherelle. I am so happy to be here. And yeah, I have been serving and advocating for people for 25 years, but I have only just realized why I'm so passionate about it. It's because on some level, I'm actually advocating for myself because people with dementia are just like me. As humans, all of us have needs. You know, we need food, shelter, we need water, of course. We also have needs for security, for connection, to express ourselves, and a long list of others as well. And we do best when our needs are met. But, you know, sometimes it's hard to even understand what it is that we need, let alone try to tell other people about it. So, people with dementia and I often struggle to communicate what we need. We try, but our words fail us and we end up communicating with our behavior. So, like for me, this can look like passive aggressive comments, micromanaging my kids, picking fights with my family. I actually hate conflict, and I'm usually pretty good at avoiding it in most circumstances. But I noticed I would keep stirring it up at home, and I couldn't figure out why in the world I was doing this or, how to stop. So I would talk to my therapist about it and tell her what was going on. I would tell her that my kids aren't listening to me and money's really tight and I'm really worried about my husband's health. she would try to reassure me and tell me I'm doing great. I just have a lot on my plate. And that might have been true, but it didn't help me stop picking fights. So I kept working at figuring out what was going on. I started tracking my behavior, looking for patterns. I noticed that I was more likely to stir up conflict when I was stressed. So I learned stress management techniques. I learned to meditate, learned breathing techniques, started taking walks. These things would help in the moment, but the stress would keep coming back. And in some ways, I noticed that it seemed like I was almost more at ease when I had something really specific, something really big to stress about. Somebody was in the hospital or there was a bill too big to pay. It wasn't that I liked this feeling really, but at least I could understand my feelings. I felt like I could justify them. But the stress didn't go away when the stressors did. And I became an expert at finding things to stress about. How much longer is our savings going to last? We're going to lose our house? The kids aren't doing their homework. They're spending way too much time on their screens. Their future looks really bleak. We're not eating healthy enough. We're all heading towards preventable illness. So we save more money. We develop better habits. But if I couldn't find something to stress about, I'd create it. And there is nothing more stressful to me than fighting with my family. And that is where picking fights really served its purpose. But I didn't understand that, and I couldn't explain it to my therapist. All I could do was describe the symptoms. We're fighting a lot. I can't relax. I'm impatient. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I'm depleted. She couldn't help me because she couldn't see beyond my symptoms either. She couldn't see my core problem. And this is the same for people with dementia. When we address the symptoms, but we miss the core issue, the problems keep returning. So in people with dementia, their core issue is often just that their basic human needs are going unmet. They're in pain. They're uncomfortable. They're frightened. They're grieving. They're lonely. They're bored. But it doesn't look the way that we expect it to. And instead, it looks like what people often call behavioral symptoms of dementia. So this is, agitation, irritability, insomnia, paranoia, aggression. We hear that these are common in dementia, and often we just don't look any deeper. For me, stress and conflict were symptoms of my core issue. And it took a special storytelling course to give me the insight and the clarity I needed to uncover it. I had to examine very deep, uncomfortable, unconscious stories that I believed about myself. And it was hard. But when I did it, everything changed. And I could finally see how stress was serving me. It was giving me purpose. It was supporting my identity as a problem solver. Stirring up stress allowed me to avoid looking at things I didn't want to look at and to avoid feeling the emotions that I really didn't want to feel. It was tough, but it was very powerful because once I could see my core problem, I could finally address it directly. I didn't have to just chase the symptoms anymore. I made myself look into my own eyes and see what I didn't want to see, feel what I didn't want to feel. The transformation was remarkable. I had been devoting so much time and energy to stressing and worrying, and now I could access it for other uses. What's more, I could sleep, I could relax. I found my patience. I stopped picking fights. It changed my life. And this is the same for people with dementia. When the core issue is addressed, everything changes. I've seen this hundreds of times. Like when Terry moved into our memory care community, she would make the most outlandish accusations. She believed that the staff was placing bowls of feces around her room and then moving them before she could find them, just to make her feel like she was crazy. She actually called the police one day to report us for this. But we just kept, trying to reach her, and you could see the moment that it did. You could see her face soften, you could see her heart open. She could feel our love. It was during a birthday party that we threw for her. After that, the accusation stopped. In fact, she actually started ordering us flowers. After that, we would laugh together. She would share her opinions. She was one of us. She belonged. Joyce came to us when she was still very high functioning, knowing that one day she was going to need more help. And she was right. Soon enough, she became more confused and more cranky. She started making very hurtful comments. And this would get worse in the afternoon. We noticed that she would also start making comments about her feet aching. So we started to schedule a massage for her after lunch every day. And it was just a quick foot rub from one of the caregivers, but we would present it to her as an appointment, which would get her to lay down in her bed, and just rubbing her feet helped her feet feel better. And it always put her to sleep just for a short little nap. When she would wake up, it was like night and day. She was refreshed, she was friendly, she was grateful, her thinking had cleared up. It was just amazing. And the same with Hector. Hector was a retired watchmaker, and he'd been calm and loving throughout his entire life. But as his dementia progressed, he became more and more anxious, and he started really to cling to staff. He would follow us into other people's rooms. He would look for any excuse to ask for help. He was just desperate for reassurance. And of course, we would reassure him, but our words were lost as soon as they would hit his ears. So one day, a caregiver asked him to do a jigsaw puzzle together with her, and that was the beginning of Hector's new life. He enjoyed fitting the pieces together. It drew on his skills as a watchmaker. He gained enormous satisfaction and self-confidence every time he completed one of the puzzles. So we made sure he had plenty of puzzles available. We would treat his masterpieces with reverence. A few times we would present him with awards in front of other people who would then applaud for him and for his accomplishments. And it would he felt so good. His sense of purpose and competence were fulfilled. He no longer needed that constant reassurance. I love seeing these transformations. Every time I do, something deep in me is reminded that it is possible. It is powerful to be understood. It's why I actively seek opportunities to translate the messages in people's behavior. Got my weekly group, my calls with caregivers and family members, the ABC Dementia course and community. I'm so excited about the ABC Dementia course and community. It's a place where you can access the experts and the resources that you need, but it's more than a resource hub. It's a place where you can learn what you need to know about supporting someone with dementia. But it's more than education. It's a community of amazing people that can support you over the long term so that you don't have to waste your money and your energy and your precious time trying to figure this out on your own. We can do it together. So the course and community is coming in January. You can check it out at abcdementia.org. And in the meantime, please let me know, what behaviors are you struggling to understand? I'm more than happy to help, because honestly, it's not just you or even your person that I'm helping. It's also me. Thank you.
You. You see, I'm back here clapping. I'm cheering you guys on. I am cheering everyone on in the background. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Dementia is just like me. So join Laura, connect with Laura at the abcdementia.org. There's information, there's resources that she has for you related to dementia. Okay, and I just want to put okay, thank you so much for that, Laura.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to finish out this today. We have our anchor person that's going to come in. Tony Giddles is going to sign us off today. We're going to keep moving with the speakers. It's been wonderful. You have seen our first 8 to 10 speakers that have come forth so far. We have more coming for day 2. So you have heard from Monica Stewart. She kicked us off this morning, talking about transition, the journey of caregiving. You have heard from Mavis Skeet. She talked about being a caregiver and taking care of her loved one as she took care of her mother as a caregiver. You also heard from Dr. Stelter. She talked about the olfactory stimulation and the essential oils. You also heard from Tracy Lamb. Tracy Lamb spoke about the caregiving and adversities as a caregiver. And you just heard Dr. Patricia. She talked about being a caregiver, the journey of being a caregiver, the importance of being a caregiver. And then you just heard from Laura Herman. She spoke about dementia and how it's like me. Okay, good people, I need y'all to connect in the chat. Go over to the Global Caregiver Speakers platform on Facebook and put in the chat, what have you learned from each speaker today? We've been here since 9 o'clock this morning, and so we're going to cap this off probably about 12 or 12:30, no later than 1 o'clock, with everyone coming back up to the stage and doing our grand finale. Okay, but let's keep it going. Last but certainly not least, it's the wonderful Tony Giddles. Let me bring Tony up to the stage. Tony Giddles, Tony. Okay, Tony. Wow, Tony, I got to just keep saying it. Tony. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Very, very good.
Wonderful.
I'm the perfect speaker to finish off this morning.
Yes.
It was perfect, Sherelle.
Yes.
Wait till you hear what I have to say.
That's exactly what I said. So when we're doing these speakers things, we try to put people in there where they exactly close to perfection as where they need to be at. So you are definitely the anchor person today, Tony. And thank you so much for joining us. But let me share about Tony Giddles. Tony has 40 years in the healthcare industry. Wow. Personal development training and 14 years caring for her mom. Tony is an expert in teaching people to be confident, supportive caregivers for a loved one with a health issue due to aging or even a chronic progressive illness or disease. As a caregiver consultant, educator, support group, facilitator, and a professional speaker, Tony has contributed to 3 caregiving and lifestyle management books. She draws from her experience as a caregiver and caregiving consultant as she shares common caregiver mistakes and the solutions that will save the family caregiver time, energy, and heartache. Tony just released and launched her wonderful book entitled 21 Mistakes Caregiver Make and How to Avoid Them. Listen, we know it's way more mistakes than that, but Tony stopped at 21. Okay. and so
Exactly.
and so and she's not going to share all 21 because Tony would like for you to go purchase her book later. So Tony, share your story your way, and thank you so much for joining us, Tony. Thank you. You have the
Thank you,
stage.
Cheryl. It was it was 2006 in Orlando, Florida. My mom was 89 and I was 56 years old. She had a healthcare crisis. She called me in the morning and she couldn't get out of bed. She was in pain and she was frightened. So imagine a spouse or a mother, a parent of yours calling you in extreme pain and needing help and very frightened. Fortunately, I lived nearby. I went over to her home and we got her ready to go to the emergency room because something was terribly wrong. I was a bit scared as well, but we had prepared for a possible emergency. I had her healthcare information with me, her insurance information, and also I was her healthcare surrogate. If anything needed to be done at the hospital, we were prepared. We got to the emergency room and, they admitted her because she had some kind of infection occurring throughout her body. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I stayed there a good part of the time so that I could talk to all the physicians that entered the room to get a daily update. But the information was never very positive, and they were still trying to save her life. What I remember very clearly, and I'm sure you remember moments that are pictures in your mind that you will never forget. I was standing next to the neurologist, and he was showing me an X-ray or an MRI of my mother's brain. Now, we don't know what MRIs are supposed to look like in the brain, but honestly, it did not look good. And that's exactly what the neurologist said. I remember his words very clearly. If your mother survives, she will never live independently again. And he said that based on the test result. So what would be your reaction? My reaction was, well, she might die, right? That causes a lot of pain and suffering for family members. Or she might live, but she would need care. Well, I was actually more prepared for her death because we did all the paperwork. I knew what her desires were. All of the information that I needed really to take care of her in the face of death was handled. Mom did live, and I was excited about that. She lived another 11 years. But I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking in my mind, could you please give me the manual? What do I do when I get home? What is it like to care for an individual? And Dave said that too. What does a caregiver do? What are the responsibilities? When you're out in the world with your career and you get a job description. Well, there was no job description. And that's frightening and overwhelming. I learned a lot taking care of Mom over 11 years, and I didn't have a lot of contact with other caregivers. So that was a problem. And if you're not talking with other caregivers in support groups or any of the people that are on this program who can support you, then you may feel isolated. David mentioned loneliness, depression, misery. My whole goal after taking care of my mom, and she did pass away at the age of 99 in 2017. I started my company in 2018. I thought, I have learned so much and I have struggled so much and I went through so much stress taking care of Mom that this isn't the right thing. This isn't right. Caregivers need to get together, and we need to inform caregivers how to prepare for this and how to have a better caregiving experience. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be stress. We can't eliminate it all, but we can have a better experience. I finally wrote the book this year, long overdue, but I realized in my conversations with caregivers, I was telling people the same thing over and over again. And they were telling me the same things that were stressing them out, and the mistakes they made, and the steep learning curve to be an effective caregiver. So that's what I did in the book. I put together the information in the book, and here it is. It's 21 mistakes, caregivers make, and how to avoid them. It's on Amazon. I'm not going to actually go through the mistakes, but I'm going to talk to you about the content in the book. So I hope you're taking notes. There was a lot of content that you already have. The overview is the word self-care, and you've heard it before. But I want you to expand your idea of what self-care is. I know when people came to me and said, "Are you taking care of yourself? You don't look so good." I didn't really appreciate that. And there really was not a lot I could do about it. I didn't know how to take better care of myself. I mean, I knew in my mind how to do it, but I was so exhausted and I was so out of energy that making a salad was like a difficult thing for me. But healthy eating is obviously important. So the overview is self-care. And the purpose of this presentation is to decrease your stress level, give you strategies to reduce stress, and surprisingly, increase your happiness. And people don't think of the word happiness when they're caregiving, but I want you to incorporate the word happiness and being intentional about it into your vocabulary, and to find something every day that you can be happy about, or the word gratitude comes up. And I haven't heard that in the previous presentations. So, and the next word I want you to write down is relationships. You are in a situation where you are in the most important, possibly, relationship of your life, and that is caring for a loved one. Or maybe it isn't a loved one, but you're caring for a family member because that's your circumstances and you've agreed to do that. So relationships, you are in relationship with that individual. When you ask for help or get help, you are in a relationship with those individuals. Think of all of the people you interact with while you're a caregiver. It could be physicians, it could be nurses, it could be therapists, it could be counselors, it could be your family, your neighbor, and your friends. So relationships, we're going to talk about relationships. Because if they're not in good repair, or if they need repair, then your stress level is going to go up. Now, there are 3 words under the word relationship that I'm going to focus on, and that is the 3 C's: communication, community, and celebration. I'll say that again. When you think of relationships, I want you to focus on communication, community, and celebration. Let's go back to stress a little bit, because I think you can relate. I know caregivers go through stress, but let's take a look at what causes it, so maybe we can prevent it. So if any of this speaks to you, write it down, because these are things, some are out of our control, and we need to let go of the things that are out of our control. And the first one is uncertainty. We're really not good with uncertainty. We like schedules, we like routines, but moment to moment, day to day, circumstances changed. And that's what happened with my mother and myself. She woke up one morning and she was sick. All of a sudden, the world changed. And over the years, she had a number of situations where she was sent to the emergency room. We spent a lot of time there, especially in her 90s. And they were all unexpected circumstances. We don't expect these things to happen. So one of the things is we've got to get comfortable with uncertainty, because life is really uncertain. This feeling that you're out of control. A lot of times we worry about things that we can't control. We have to let that go. We can't control the weather. Let it go. That's an easy one. We can't control when the physician is going to show up in the hospital. He's got his own schedule. We've got to be on his schedule. Or we can make a request or find out what time he's coming. But there's so many things. We can't fix our loved one, especially in the case of dementia or a progressive illness. Men especially, you have a lot of trouble with this. You are fixers. You solve problems. In a lot of cases, this is going to cause you a lot of stress. A lot of times we lack information that we need. We doubt our ability to be a good caregiver. We lack information on how to prepare for a caregiving situation. Getting back to relationships, there are people in your life that likely criticize you for the job you're doing. They tell you what you should be doing without even knowing or being involved in your situation. Oh my gosh, that causes so much stress. Again, we talked about not taking a break, not asking for help, but poor communication with people. So that's the overview. That's the basis of the book, to get you information about that to reduce your stress level. I didn't even know what a support group was. And there were some in the area. And over 11 years, I certainly could have used the support of other people that were going through a similar situation. I found a support group. I had to drive there. I was too exhausted to go. The great thing about today is that there are a lot of virtual support groups. I was just on a cruise with caregivers that are taking care of loved ones with dementia, and they were with their loved ones, and we have activities on board, and we have a conference when we're at sea, and then we escort the people on their excursions. So, and we also have a nurse on staff. So these cruises help people have a good time, and they're not alone, and they learn things at the conference. So that's support. And then we have a support group, and the individuals that we were working with that were on the cruise had never been in a support group. So they said, well, we don't need to go. Well, we finally convinced them, come and just check it out, see what it is. And they were able to talk about their feelings, talk about what they were going through, what they were worried about in the future, and they felt better afterwards. So not knowing is a real problem. And that's in the book too. I want to give you the information that you need, again, so your stress is reduced and your happiness increases. Let's see. One of the things, so let's get back to those words. So communication. Somebody mentioned, this seems to always come up, that there's somebody in your life that you're not able to communicate with effectively, or they're telling you what to do. And the suggestion that I have in all circumstances, and especially with your loved one, is to be curious and be a good listener first before you offer your opinion, and be careful of your reaction to people. We tend to get triggered by people's words, especially if they seem hurtful. Well, people are doing the best they can. And unfortunately, people do say things that are hurtful. And that's why there's a large section in the book on communication strategies. But let's focus on talking with your loved one, if they're capable of communication with you. One of the first things I started doing with Mom was telling her what to do. And, how do you feel when someone tells you what to do? Well, that doesn't work too much, but I thought that was the caregiver's job. But it's not. Or it could be if they ask for your information, if they ask for your opinion. But in a conversation that is effective, both people have time to express their opinion while the other person listens. So it's a conversation. It's not a conflict. It's not an argument. It's not if I have to convince you my point of view. It's a conversation, and that's where communication starts, where both people have an opportunity to be fully present, fully listened to, and then you each give your opinion, and then you go wherever the conversation needs to go. So I recommend this with your loved one. I also recommend this with any individual, especially those in your family that don't seem to understand. Families are important. Communication with your physician is important. Please don't leave an office visit with your physician, your loved one's physician, not understanding what they've said to you. And this happens a lot. Speak up, be an advocate, ask questions, write down and take notes for your loved one. And then when you get home, you can have that conversation about what happened, because chances are they missed something. There's just so much that goes on during an appointment, and you want to be clear about it. If you're unclear, make a phone call or go through your patient portal and ask questions and get the information. So let's talk about community, because this is important as well. Asking for help was mentioned. And, I don't know why we have so many beliefs about we shouldn't ask for help. Just do it. Ask for help. And how do you ask? Sometimes we just don't know what to ask for. Well, in the book, I gave you a whole bunch of ideas on what you could possibly ask for, both for your loved one, but also for yourself, so that your life is easier. So we're trying to reduce your stress, increase your happiness. Do not make the mistake of trying to do everything yourself. Just practice asking for help. Ask someone to get you a glass of water. You got to say it over and over. I found that people need to practice. We need to practice asking for help. So start small. But also, if an individual has refused help in the past, perhaps a family member, but you want to keep that connection going, I think someone else mentioned it. Don't talk about caregiving. Give them a call saying you're checking in. You just want to reestablish a relationship. You don't know what's going on in their life, and you're very curious. Please tell me what's happening. There are people, you want to talk to about caregiving, and that's in your support group. And you may find that, I have a whole bunch of ideas in the book. Find an individual that you can talk to that's not judgmental. It could be a best friend. It could be someone in your family, but it's someone that you can say, I just need to vent. I need to get this out. I don't need you to respond at all, but I do need you to listen. And you can even put the phone down if you want and go do something else, but I need to let it out. That person is going to be so valuable. There might be a person in your life that you can talk about, that you need advice from, and they've been a caregiver. And they've been through the experience, and that their advice is very useful. So write their name down. Okay, here's one you probably haven't thought of. If there's someone in your life that makes you laugh, you want to call them every now and then. It's okay to watch funny movies by yourself, but find a friend. This is about relationship building, and it's about building your community. So you need people in your life that do different things. Maybe someone in your life is a good cook and they would love to cook you dinner. I've got people like that helped me during my cancer rehab. They brought lunch, they brought dinner, they made a schedule, and they took care of me so well that I didn't have to worry about food or grocery store for the first week after my surgery, and it was wonderful. So find people in your life that love to cook. Don't ask them to come do something else like mow your lawn. Ask them to cook you a meal, because that's what they're good at. So I have other ideas in the book to get you to build this community, and it's so important. I am an only child, so I did start doing everything myself. Mom was in an assisted living facility for some of that time, so my support group grew, and it was fabulous. I made sure that I had good relationships with the nurses, with all of the staff, the activities director, the people who cooked the meals in the dining room, the serving people, everyone in the facility. I knew their first names and last names, and I made friends with them, and they loved taking care of my mother. It was a big help and a big relief to me. So the last thing is celebration. Celebrate life. Just because there's an illness or even a severe, diagnosis, a progressive diagnosis. This is your life. This is your circumstances. And it is time to celebrate. Celebrate your loved one, and celebrate that each day you wake up and you can take a breath, and you have the opportunity to interact with people and to give and receive love to those people in your life. And that's actually mistake 21, undervaluing love in the relationship and in your life. So this is important. We all need love. We need to give it. And as a caregiver, we seem to give and give and give, and we don't get it. And that's one thing you can ask for. Give me a hug. Give me a kiss. Tell me I'm doing a good job. Tell me you appreciate me. You can ask for that. And that's a way of giving love. Sometimes just holding a person's hand. or touching them in a loving way can do that. So overall, we've talked about self-care in a bigger framework. Self-care is definitely watching what you eat. It's movement. It's getting enough rest. But it's also your relationships. How you create your life on a daily basis is self-care. And if you let people in that are bringing you down and are draining your energy, then that's self-care. And that's a boundary you need to set with those people. So we talked about self-care, relationships, communication strategies, building your community of support, and celebrating life. I would love for you to learn more because my book is very practical. It's very short chapters so that you can read about the mistake, find out why it's important, and then I give you the strategy so that you can create your own care plan. There's a lot of ideas in here and in the appendix as well. You can follow me at heartofcaregiving.com. My email is tony@hoctony.com. HOC stands for Heart of Caregiving. So heartofcaregiving.com. There's a lot of information on my website, and I would love for you to follow me and the activities. I am in Central Florida. I do things virtually, and I do a lot of things locally. I am a professional speaker, and I would love to do workshops in your community as well. So thank you for listening. I hope you've got a few aha moments perhaps, or at least one or two tips that you can implement into your daily activities. You are an important person, remember, in that person's life that you're caring for, and they are important to you as well. I know they are. I really view the years I spent with my mother as some of the best years of my life because I focused on the relationship and giving and receiving love, finding out what she needed and wanted, and giving her the best health care that I possibly could. So let me know if you have any questions. And I look forward to maybe being in touch with you again, or you're being in touch with me so that we can work one-on-one as well and help you through a difficult time. Thanks so much, Sherelle. This has been a wonderful day. And I hope that was a good summary, too, of some of the things that other people said.
I told you I'm cheering you guys on behind the scenes. I am so excited about this this engagement, this conference today, right? It was so wonderful. Tony, you brought the A game today. Everyone brought the A game, but the A for you stands for anchor. You anchored us right on in, sister girl. So thank you so much, Tony. Listen, those in the audience, connect with Tony, connect with all of the speakers. Tony has given us some wonderful strategies to use as a caregiver. Stop being stressed. Stop doing things alone. Ask for help. You don't have to be alone and frustrated and burnt out. It's help out there. Like a lot of them had expressed, they did not even know about support groups. Support groups are right there in your city, in your state, in your county. They are right there. You don't have to do this alone. Don't go it alone. It could just be your neighbor right next door. Wow, can you sit with mom for a minute? Can you sit with dad for a minute? It's the little things. We cannot be, quote unquote, too proud to ask for help. Because I'm telling you, it's going to come a day when you're going to get burnt out and you're going to be frustrated and mad. And when you could have just called the neighbor right next door. So thank you so much, Tony, for sharing with us some of your strategies and the mistakes that we make as caregivers and how to avoid them. Thank you so much. So right now, we're going to close this out. We got the grand finale. I'm bringing everyone up to the stage. Come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Bring them out, bring them out. I should have been playing that record behind them. Bring them out, bring them out. Bring them out, bring them out. Come on out, come on out. Dr. Patricia, I don't know if she's going to be with us or not, but come on out. This is our grand finale. I don't know what Dave, but when he come in, when I see him come in, I'll bring him on up. So this is our grand finale. A couple of speakers, they're not with us. They may be doing something, but I just want you all to just know that we love and appreciate each and every one of you. First of all, you came in your own way. Number two, you shared your story with the world. This is just the what we did on Facebook, but it's going to stream out to other places. And then also, what you can do is share it on your platform. You can share it on your platform and even send it out to people. So I'm gonna share mine in different areas. I have some. I'm gonna send out an email later to each of you and let you know exactly what's going on. Okay, but right now, Dave is up here, but he's not up here. Tony, Laura, Matis, Tracy, Dr. Patricia. I think she's doing something. So right now, how would you like to end this? What would you like to share with the audience? Now I'm gonna start with you, Tony.
Okay.
What would you like to share with the audience as far as wisdom for being a caregiver? We have all heard about being burnt out, being fatigued, being lonely, being depressed. I've had enough. What would you share right now? And we heard about the prioritizing, taking care of yourself first. So, other than taking care of yourself first, because we know that part, what else would you share with a caregiver and to not be so stressed out, not be so burnt out? What would you
I
share?
one
And with
one of the one of the things that I hear all the time, and I've been at several health cares this week talking to caregivers, is that they don't know the resources in the community. I was fortunate enough to be in healthcare my whole life, and one of the first things I did when I moved back to live in the same city as my mom was start finding the resources in the community. So often there might be a senior blue book, which is a directory that you might find at Walgreens in the pharmacy direction. They're all over the country. Another thing is just to Google online whatever your question is, or where do I find resources on dementia in my community? Just ask the question that you need the answer to. Definitely, if there's a support group. Now, we don't have a lot of support groups in our community. We have some, we do have several. We have a lot of resources for people with dementia, for caregivers. But again, people don't know about them. So find that out. Google it. Find out if there's a health fair. Pay attention to what's going on in your community, because a lot of times at a health fair or a senior fair, the people that you need to be in communication with are there. And Sherelle, I want to answer a question that I saw in the chat about the dementia cruises. Yeah, I'm going to give you a website to go to, because it's not my business. I just do the conferences and I'm on the staff. So get your pens out. It's Elite Cruises and Vacations Travel.com. There's no abbreviation as far as I know. I'll read that again. Elite Cruises and Vacations Travel.com. Our next cruise is out of Fort Lauderdale to the Caribbean in January 26th. And I will be there with my partner on the cruise, delivering the conference and doing support groups and helping you create memories with your loved one. You can also contact me directly at heartofcaregiving.com and ask me about the cruises. There's information on my page, on my webpage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony, for that. Tony, would you put that in the chat? That Elite Cruise and Vacations?
I'm having trouble with the chat.
You got to go on the global caregiver speakers and put it right in that chat.
The private chat?
It's on global caregiver speakers, yes, on the Facebook page, and just put down that information related to.
I've got it now. I had to click on a few things to get there. Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony. Okay, next, who'd like to go next? What would you share with wisdom with the caregivers? Yes, go ahead, Tracy. You on mute?
me unmute myself. I just want to give some resources. If everybody's still got their pen, I just want to give some resources to people that they may need them. First of all, there in most states and in most areas, there's something called the Area Agency on Aging. The Area Agency on Aging is absolutely wonderful. That's a phenomenal free resource. You can get a lot of different information from them. They can help you with community resources as well. So definitely connect with the Area Agency on Aging. In addition to that, I'm going to give you the names of 2 more organizations that can help. There's a national organization called elderhelpers.org. Elderhelpers.org. That is a volunteer organization. The volunteers are background screened and vetted. And all you have to do is put in the zip code of where your person is, and it will bring up several different volunteers that would be able to come over and give you some respite for you to go to the grocery store, go get your hair done, whatever you need. Obviously, they're not going to be able to come and, sit with your patient for, 8 hours a day while you go to work, but it would really, it can really help with some respite care. So elderhelpers.org is that particular organization. And then the last one I wanted to just kind of let everybody know, I know Alzheimer's and dementia, since any kind of cognitive skills, my own mom is starting to have some issues. Since COVID hit, that's just gotten much worse. And the numbers are growing tremendously in that space. So anything that can help with that is greatly appreciated. There's a company called Sociavi, and that's SOCIA, V as in Victor, I, Sociavi.com. They have created a standalone device that is really, really amazing. The beautiful thing is first of all, you have no username and password. You just kind of plug it in and it works, which is great. But then you can do video chat. There's an app for the caregiver. People can just tap the picture and they're immediately connected to their person, audio and video. So it's very easy to use. They have over 400 games and different types of things that a person that is having cognitive issues can do. And the caregiver actually gets results of how the person is doing. So if the person, it can do a game, really fast one week, and then the next week they start doing it slower, you as the caregiver actually get notified that their cognitive skills may be changing. It has reminders on there. It's a phenomenal tool to use in that space. So I'll put it in the chat about those things, but those are just some of the resources that can help.
Absolutely. Thank you. Excuse me. That's wonderful, Trace. And I do know about that Socio V with Paula Mueller. So we're definitely going to, if you need to do that, it's a distance device, which is really good because people are taking care of loved ones at a distance. So thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Okay, anyone else have resources or Wilson you want to share?
Okay. Yes, one of the things I would like to share with caregivers is that when you are doing caregiving, you have to remember, don't let it absorb all of your time. Still do some of those things that you enjoy doing on your own. And part of that is you have to protect your boundaries. Don't get caught up with so many other things to do that you don't enjoy life yourself. If it means talking to a girlfriend sometime, or going out for lunch, or having someone to sit down and go to a movie, if you enjoy doing those things before, incorporate that still in your life, because you'll need that to help you, as that's part of your respite care. And then again, I agree and echo what Tony and Tracy said about the resources. And actually in my book, Self-Care for the Caregiver, some of those are mentioned. I have a whole chapter on resources that are available. And the thing is, a lot of people don't know, and we just need to tap into it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And definitely resources are in the community. They go state, local, and otherwise. So it's definitely helping the community. And some resources are just out there. People just don't know. So definitely, people in the audience, tap into them. They out there. They're free resources in the community always. Okay. So Laura and Dr. Patricia, any resources or wisdom you would like to leave with the audience?
Um, Absolutely. Resources, knowing where to find the resources is so important. And that's something that I really take pride in, is knowing, you know, holistically, everything from financial planning to medical support to, self-care. I really try to be aware of and vet all of these great resources and help people, cut through the noise. There's so much, and most of them don't apply to any one particular situation. But being able to kind of talk through it with somebody who knows what's going on, and just present the resources that are relevant is, super helpful for people. And, I keep hearing again and again, everyone is feeling their way um, kind of through the dark in this. And so I think, finally people are coming up and putting, their lessons that they've learned through the process out, and trying to help each other through it, which is just fantastic. And I think that we're working together, communicating, we're all going to be able to make because caregiving can be such a rewarding, best years of our life type of situation, but our needs have to be met. And that's what people, as the resounding message, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to meet our own needs. We all feel and function at our best when our needs are met as caregivers, as, the person with, whether it's dementia or another condition. So much of what we see with people with dementia is just needs not being met. And so, there's so much that we can do to make things easier for ourselves as we communicate and share the knowledge and the wisdom and the inspiration and support that we've collected, as a group. So it's just wonderful to have you bring everyone together here today, Sherelle, and, so much wisdom here on the stage.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Laura. It's definitely wisdom on this stage right here. It don't take a whole lot of people to say what needs to take place. All it takes is the right people. So, Dr. Queen Patricia, we're going to let you close us out. If Dave doesn't make it back, we're going to close out with your words of wisdom, prayer, or otherwise for our wonderful audience of caregivers and otherwise. I'm sure it's more than caregivers in the audience, but guess what? Everyone is a caregiver. Everyone is a caregiver, whether they realize it or not. They are a caregiver. Okay, go ahead. You're on mute, Dr. Patricia. Okay.
Again, good afternoon. This was very good, and it was awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, keep going.
Okay,
keep going. We can hear you.
This was good, and especially, can you hear me? Oh my goodness.
Yes, keep going.
No.
Listen, I
You're
understand
cutting out,
that
Dr. Goodman. No, you're cutting out.
my internet is slow, but I'm gonna be quick. Okay, I'm sorry. I won't be able to share.
Put something in the chat, Dr. Goodman.
Put
a note in the chat.
Thank you.
On the Global Caregiver Speakers platform. Put it in the chat. And we know about technology, but I don't let technology hold me back. As you see, I just keep moving. Because the thing about the technology, it is what it is. And so that's why I always say be in a strong place. Even with me, I got to make sure I'm in a setting where the internet don't get disconnected, in other words. But this was good. This was excellent. I am totally at awe at how all of you came about and shared what you needed to share with the audience. And I'm telling you right now, even those that wasn't here, they can go back and listen to the replay. Okay, we know a lot of people may have to work today. It is a Friday. People are working, so they can go back and watch it. And also, what you can do is share your own personal reel on your social media. It don't have to be the whole everyone, but share yours on your social media and get feedback that way. So I'm going to end it this way. Everyone was excellent. Everything was done in order, just the way God had planned it. And there's only four kind of people in this world, right? It's four kind of people, four kind of caregivers. And Rosalind Carter, who established caregiving, I think back in the 70s, she was like the pioneer of caregiving, right? And unfortunately, she has come down with dementia. Rosalind Carter, the former First Lady of the United States, she has dementia now. I think she's in her 90s and close to it, and her husband, his 90s as well, former President Jimmy Carter. So just to say that, but she did leave us with a wonderful mantra, if you will, for caregivers, that there's only four kinds of people in this world. There are those who have been a caregiver, those who are currently a caregiver, those who will be a caregiver, and those who will need a caregiver. And you know what? She have said it all. That is everything. That is everyone globally as far as caregiving. Do not be the one that would need a caregiver, right? So it's just so many ways you can go with this. Take care of yourself and know that we love you at Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers. Connect with the speakers in the chat or afterwards. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom up here. So everyone, connect with someone on this platform. I have, if you need to reach out to me to get their information, do that. But I would like for all of the speakers to leave your information in the chat on Global Caregivers Speakers platform on Facebook. That's where the main chat is going on at. So thank you so much, caregivers. We look forward to working with you in the future. And just the FYI, moving forward, we're going to have our spring summit. I think I'm only going to have like 10 or 12 speakers. It's just a summit of caregivers sharing their story just like today. So if you're interested, contact me. I have other people that's waiting in the wing to come on. This is going to be our spring event, and it's called For the Love of Caregiving. For the Love of Caregiving, our 2024 summit. Any questions, comments, suggestions? I had me a good time, baby.
Well, tell people
Give
to come back
yourselves a
tomorrow.
hand.
Come back tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so tomorrow will be day 2 of our wonderful inaugural National Family Caregivers Conference 2023. And if you got an Eventbrite ticket, please go to your email. I am going to send you the link to connect with us tomorrow. Okay? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Dave, our male caregiver, he may be doing something. We love you, Dave. Thank you for stepping out and being our male caregiver. Thank you, ladies. Take care and join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. Not 1 o'clock, 9 a.m.
Eastern.
Join us.
9 a.m. Eastern.
Time. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies, let me see if I can get a commercial.